I'd like to wish you the full Shalema. We requested a little baby that Mamish just born that needs a full Shalema. Ethel, Aliyah, Mazel, Bas, Chaya, Musya,
Chaim.
full Shalema. You can take it from Mamish.
Amen.
Chaim, you hear me?
Yeah.
I'll get excited soon. Chaim, good Yom Tov. Good Yom Tov. Beis Taamuz has a special significance and importance to me personally. In addition to its collective importance to all Chassidim and to the entire Jewish world and to the entire world, the day has a special significance to myself. 28 years ago, today, on Yud Beis Taamuz, was the first time that I was exposed to Chassidus Chabad in a pneumistic manner, which means in a manner that I can understand and hopefully digest and internalize. What do I mean by that? Before Yud Beis Taamuz in 1989, Toshin Mem Tes, I had one encounter with the Rebbe, grew up in Borough Park. I had one encounter with the Rebbe where a friend of mine kind of schlepped me for Kaishal Bracha. That was like 2 months before Yud Beis Taamuz, where I came to 770, I think it was Matzah Pesach, and I saw the Rebbe for the first time, and I received Kaishal Bracha. And on the Rebbe's end, I'm sure without any doubt, he took my Nefesh, Ruch, Neshama, Chai, Yechida, and Etzem HaNeshama. As resulted afterwards, that a few months later, I was pulled in. But at that time, its impact on me, at least as I was experiencing, was makifting. Meaning I saw something very great and something very powerful, but it was not something that I identified, I can understand, and therefore want to be part of, even though I saw it. But then, 3 months later, as I was learning, 2 months later, and I was learning in Slobodki Yeshiva in Bnei Brak, there were signs saying that there was going to be a Shabbaton for Bachrim, that if they to come to Kfar Chabad for Yeshiva Bachrim. So there were Bachrim that came from Panovich, and Bachrim that came from Slobodka, and Bachrim that came from various different places. And it was a Shabbaton in Kfar Chabad. That Shabbos did it for me. Now you can say they reeled me in. I was a keeper. There were about 20 of us. When you go fishing, you know which ones are a keeper and others you try and you have to let go. So they tried reeling in 16 guys, but there were 2 keepers, me and someone else. And eventually, I don't know. But in any case, the first memory I have from that Shabbos, something that really irritated me and got me very upset and gave me like a real shuckle and frustrated me, was that Friday night we went to shul and we davened, and after davening, instead of just saying Good Shabbos, they said Good Yom Tov. And I did not like that. That poked me wrong. Lubavitcher Meshugoyim, Sudreite Chevre, off their rockers. And I, obviously over Shabbos things were explained. Friedrich Rebbe came out of jail. This is your private Indian. This is your Rebbe. I'm a Stechiner Chassid. Rebbe, Stechiner Rebbe is a big tzaddik from Ropshit's dynasty. And even amongst Chassidim, tzans I used to go to, other Chassidim, there are days, powerful days, in which their Rebbe was saved. In Belz, there is the day when the Belzer Rebbe was saved from the Nazis, Zeraran of Belz. In Satmar, there is the day. No one says Good Yom Tov. Why? Because Yom Tov is Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. That is Yom Tov by the Jewish people. Maybe Chanukah and Purim, some say, some not. That's Yom Tov. Oh, the Babisha fanaticism. It's Yom Tov. Making it such a reality. And it bothered me. It bothered me deeply. And if anything, you want it to be your Yom Tov, it's the time that I Yom Tov. You see me, I'm wearing a bekisha. This is not the Chabad garb. I have this hat, not the Chabad hat. Leave me alone. This is not my Yom Tov. The time that I Yom Tov. Even the fact that you say Yom Tov for yourself is, I think, a little overboard. But to tell me good Yom Tov? And it's interesting. In order to be moved by something, you first need to be shooken up. You need something provocative to give you a kitzel, to give you a jolt, and to shake you out from your complacency. That good Yom Tov, Yud Beis Tamuz by night, that Friday night, it was Shabbos and Sunday, that good Yom Tov in 1989, give me such a shake, and it shook all the klipa off. This is a realization I had today. Why? Why? Because today's days, it says right before Mashiach comes, Nevuah is going to come back to the Jewish people. And not just, the Rebbe spoke, Mashiva Shiftayach, Kavrishoyne, Tzadikim, and the like. It says it's going to come back to children and even Shoitim, even fools. So the one doesn't have to be impressed so much with Nevuah, but today's days we see that we all have prophecies and we all have direct communication with the highest and deepest. And that is through this unbelievable thing called WhatsApp. Amazing. I don't know why this is the Eibishter's most choicest form of communication. When he wants to communicate something really to your neshama, he uses WhatsApp. There are many other things, but WhatsApp for some, at least for me, I get texts, I get other things, emails, but only the best of the best comes through WhatsApp. And it's interesting, what's coming over here is that, it says in Chassidus, we always learn, that there is a Soidus Momaila, that there are cruising. There are announcements that come from above every day, Shuvu Banim Shoivavim, do tshuva, do this, do that. So I find that these cruising, they come to you many times through WhatsApp. Unbelievable. So today, a few days ago, I got a WhatsApp from someone I don't even know who he is, because I don't have him in my number, so it's just a number. Okay, and he sent me a WhatsApp as follows. Hear this, that in Tov Mem Ches, 1988, 1 year before Yud Beis Tamuz that I came, on Yud Beis Tamuz, the Rebbe said, and he quotes a piece from the Rebbe's Sikha, where the Rebbe says that on Yud Beis Tamuz, mitzvah loymar, it's a mitzvah to say good Yom Tov to every single Yid, even for him and for his whole family, even one who b'shem Yisrael Yechuneh. So I don't know if the Rebbe, I'm sure the Rebbe is kavanah way, but to me, the Rebbe had hikdim refuah l'makah. The jolt that I needed was prepared already. The Rebbe spoke about. Now it's interesting. I looked in the sichas of Mem Ches. I can't find it. Could be it's in the non-Muga version. There's no even sicha for Yud Beis Tamuz in Sefer HaSichas Tavshem Mem Ches. There's a Farbrengen on Yud Tamuz, which was 2 days before that, Shabbos Pashas Chukas. Now it's interesting, in that Sikha the Rebbe very much is explaining why it's a Yom Tov for every year, even for B'Shem Yisrael Yechunah. So it makes sense that somewhere in that Sikha the Rebbe probably said it, either then or on Yud Beis Tamuz, but it's not printed. I'd be very happy. I didn't get a chance to look in the non-version, but I would be very happy if someone finds it. But this is what this person sent me, a little tzitut, a little thing. And so that's, I say, Good Yom Tov. For me, it's 28 years today. Koyach, it's a very, very strong empowerment. And if Naftali Astulin is here, who he was part of the inspirations for this Farbrengen, he would say it's Gematria Yechi as well. Koyach, Yechi, he said. So this is a very, very powerful moment for myself. I want to a little bit get into this idea of why I was so irritated and why this was such a provocation. Why did this irk me so much? So here, meaning, I explained it earlier, what bothered me. What bothered me is we don't see that amongst the Jewish people. No one has created new Yom Tovim. No one made these things. Now the truth is, this Inyan is not only related to Yud Beis Taamuz, it's already in Yud Tes Kislev as well. The Rebbe Rashab came up with this phrase, Rosh Hashanah. That Yud Tes Kislev is Rosh Hashanah l'Chassidus. We know that when word got out in the world, in the Europe world before the war, that Lubavitch has a new Rosh Hashanah, the words, it came to Reb Chaim Oizer, and people came running in. The Rebbe Rashab wrote a letter that this day is Rosh Hashanah l'Chassidus. They brought the letter to Reb Chaim Oizer and they laughed. And they said, now they have a new Rosh Hashanah. It says in the Gemara, Arba Rosh Hashanah Haim, there's only 4 Rosh Hashanahs. And Lubavitch came up with a 5th Rosh Hashanah. So Reb Chaim Oizer said, yeah, Bazei kumtzu, and ba'ons falt avek. Something, I'm not exact those words, something like that. Meaning, yes, it's true, by Chassidim, they're adding more, which means their Yiddishkeit is increasing. It's getting more invigorated and more powerful. And by us, it's where pieces are falling off. So you know what? Don't make fun. There is something very, very real about that Rosh Hashanah al-Chassidus. By them, there is Chayos and Emes. If we think deeply into this Inyan, I think the root of this, of being able to say Good Yom Tov. And after 28 years, I can say that today, I woke up in the morning and got dressed, and I went and I was learning a little Chassidus, and then I started feeling uncomfortable that I put on my jacket, my weekday jacket. Now, if you wear kapote, no problem. You wear kapote, yeah, Beckish, so it's landish. You wear streimel, oi, so what are you going to do? So it took me many years to get the guts to walk in Los Angeles with a Beckish and a streimel on Yud Tes Kislev. I remember Rabbi Safranovich told me when I walked into the Farbrengen, he said, whoa, du hast getan a größe Sache. Aber sie kommen mit der Streimel, you on Yud Tes Kislev, fine. So I was sitting there with my jacket, and then I said, I don't think the Friediger Rebbe would be happy with me today if I'm sitting there with my regular weekday jacket. So I ran home, and for the first time on Yud Beis Tamuz, and besides when I came on Shabbos, I'm comfortable enough with the idea of Good Yom Tov, so strong that it should be, I should dress in it. This is Yom Tov. I thought he came into shul, and in Levi Yitzchak, and there's a Yid davening there, a Vishnitzer Chassid, and he looks at me and he said, "What's his hand? What's his Yom Tov? Mr. Bal Simcha, you're making a bris?" So I said, "Yeah, Yom Tov." And then I explained to him why it's a Yom Tov, and he said, "Yeah, it's good." I told him, if you would erase Lubavitch from the map and everything Lubavitch did in the world for the last 90 years, where would Judaism look today? Could you imagine? Delete the memory of everything, of all of Chabad and all of its work in the world for the last 90 years, where would Yiddishkeit be today? He said, I really don't know. I said, no, then today is a Yom Tov. Because today is the day that all of this, the last 90 years of Chabad in the world and everything that we've done for the Jewish people, for the whole world, let alone Soviet Jewry, but for the whole world, all of this is related to today. So Taka Yom Tov. But really, really, there is a deep idea that is related to this, that we can say Good Yom Tov. It really roots to, to the concept and the reality of Pnimiyus HaTorah of Chassidus. When one is lacking Pnimiyus HaTorah, when you're not studying the soul of the Torah, and you only learn Nigla, the revealed part of the Torah, then one's hergish, one's reality is as follows. Yiddishkeit once was. A few thousand years ago, that's when it was happening. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron, the Nevi'im, fine, the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, Matan Torah, Beis Hamikdash. That's when it was happening. Then what happened? We messed up. We messed up so badly, the Eibishter got so frustrated, and finally, Because of our sins, God exiled us from the land, and He banished us from Eretz Yisrael. And now we are, a bunch of schleppers. Because the Eibishter is only going to take us back when we do tshuva. And we haven't done tshuva. The haraya, what's the proof that we haven't done tshuva yet? That Mashiach isn't here. So we didn't do tshuva. So the Eibishter is still kind of upset at us. And therefore, what are we doing these days? We are a misplaced people. We're hanging out over here. We don't have nevuah. We don't have all the connection to the Eibishter that was way back then. So what? So then when were Yomim Tovim formed? Yomim Tovim were formed when things were happening. Now, from year to year, from time to time, we become more and more and more disconnected, removed. And since it doesn't look like we're going to do tshuva, chas v'sholem, in the eyes of someone who doesn't learn chassidus and doesn't have a deeper understanding, so then people talk about, which is something you commonly hear, that it says in the Gemara that if Yidden don't do tshuva, that the Eibush is going to chas v'sholem bring upon them a king. There's going to be a nuclear threat. There's going to be something that's going to shake the whole world to its core, and then that melech kaham and chas v'sholem hoyeleti, and that's going to evoke the Jewish people. That's going to evoke the Jewish people to do tshuva. By the way, this week I mentioned the Tzanzer Rebbe. So someone on the Shluchim WhatsApp posted a little clip from the Kloisenberger Rebbe, and I was very close to him. And his Yortzeit was this week, and I'd like to share something very, very powerful. The Shliach went and he put it on the WhatsApp. Now, being that, Lubavitch is, I saw no one reacted from all the Shluchim to the piece. He's quoting from the Tzanzer Rebbe. Man, this is a Chabad Shluchim WhatsApp. But in any case, I enjoyed it. And in that piece, the Kloisenberger Rebbe is saying something that was like, it's so very powerful. He's saying in Yiddish, and I can't say it in Yiddish, won't understand, but he's saying that he was by the gas chambers. He was in Auschwitz. And he saw the Jews lining up and being sent to the Auschwitz, and Jews in that situation. He says it in such beautiful, such painful words, but he says, he's talking to the Eibishter. His mom is talking to the Eibishter. He said he didn't see anybody take out a Tehillim. He didn't see people doing tshuva, at least on the revealed part. He saw people tzeklapt and tzechmurit and being bewildered and not knowing what's going on, and so they went. Of course we know, of course they did do tshuva. I'm saying in the Bechitzanis, he didn't see any of that. He says today's days, when the Eibishter had Rachmanis on the Jewish people, and he's giving us so much goodness, begashmius in this, thousands of Jews are returning to Yiddishkeit. Thousands of people are learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. He said, don't you see God in heaven, that if you want to chas v'shalom hurt and harm and beat your people, you're not getting any gain. There is no tshuva. There is nothing coming from it. And if the Eibishter, you treat your children with love and respect, then you see how much they love you. It was so beautiful to hear him say that in him. But in any case, the idea without Chassidus is that we, the Jewish people, are here, got stuck in this miserable exile. There is no tachlis in this inyan, besides that we should realize that we got to put our act together and hopefully do tshuva one day. That's the philosophy, as it is without Chassidus. Comes, however, when one begins to study Pnimiyas HaTorah, the inner part of the Torah, a whole new world opens up. When the Zohar became revealed, and especially when the Arizal started bringing the idea of sparks of holiness scattered around the entire world, and we, the Jewish people, need to elevate these sparks. That means that the Golus was not just a patch from the Eibishter, a frask from our father. He gives us our zetz and he throws us out. He doesn't want to have anything to do with us, chas v'sholem. Golus is the Eibishter giving the Jewish people the opportunity, the responsibility to elevate all of the world, to make all the world a godly place. And for that, the Eibishter sends Yidden out. We should find those sparks. We should elevate it and bring out and reveal a lukus in the whole world. And as a result of that, Chassidus tells us how the world continues to be refined. As a result of our thousands of years, it's not stam. We messed up and we're miserably stuck in this golus. That's not what's going on. We have an avodah. We've worked. The world is getting better. And then Chassidus goes further and reveals How the Jewish neshama is only getting deeper. Deeper. Chassidus says that what? That when they had the Beis Hamikdash and they had all the revelations, they were serving God only from their intellect, from the revealed kochas of their neshama, from the external powers of their soul, but not from their essence. But when things start getting tough and difficult, Jews become so much deeper. Their inner stubbornness of a Yid, the deep commitment of a Jew that he's a Yid no matter what, reveals itself. Deeper aspects of our soul come out. And it gets deeper and deeper till we get to Ikvus of the Mashiach Mamish, to the last time. These are the deepest Jews. Moshe Rabbeinu felt humbled before the last generation. That's what Chassidus explains. Chassidus also explains to us that there's new revelations in Torah. That Torah is that what Hashem revealed initially was the external part of the Torah. But as Jews get deeper, the Torah gets deeper, or the opposite. As the Torah gets deeper, as a result of inner layers of the Torah are revealed. We know Kabbalah was the secret, the neshama of the Torah. Chassidus is the pnimius of that neshama. Razin the Razin, Yechida of Torah. So all of this is bringing so much more light, so much more revelation. And here's an amazing thing. There are certain principles that are such fact, and I know this not just from my memory, but I write for the Hamodia magazine. And I write for them from time to time articles on Chassidus. They asked me to write, Mamish, an opportunity that I can speak to hundreds of thousands of Jews in Lakewood, in Borough Park, and all over. They read the Hamodia, in the Indian magazine. And almost every article I give them is like the same good Yom Tov that I got. It gives them such a shake. They come sending me back. The Mashgiach doesn't like it. And the Mashgiach thinks it brings problems in the Amunah. Why? I'll tell you an example. I wrote in my last article that the Eibishter has pleasure and tainug of our avodah, of our service. It gives God pleasure. They didn't like the fact that God has pleasure. You're making the Eibishter so human. You're making that could make a shaila in Amunah that the Eibishter has pleasure. So I said, Rabbi Shalom, so why then are you serving God if the Eibishter doesn't have pleasure? What are you serving? Anyways, I told them that every Chassidish sefer in the world talks about this is me. I didn't say Lubavitch, but I'm writing this. I said, open up. Besides, I could have brought my Marech Chazal from before that. But every single sefer in Chassidus, from the Barditchever and the Karshnis Magid and Noyam Elimelech, and I went on quoting them. Everywhere it talks about that a Yid has to do all of his avodah, the lasses nachas ruach, to give enough. They write to me that what? No, the Eibishter created this entity that has pleasure. But not chas v'sholom that the Eibishter has pleasure. So then in the end, they wrote to me, you know what? Please just let us change one thing. Let us write oneg and nachas ruach, but not pleasure. Why? Because if you're leading it in the world of oneg and nachas ruach, it's not so real. But anyways, one of the principles that there is when you don't learn Chassidus, and it's so etched, is it's like the Aseres Adibris. I'm not kidding. One of the ideas that is so fundamental when you're lacking in Chassidus, now there's nothing to do with any part. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about the need for us to study and realize how rich we are with Chassidus. Okay, so the one of the principles is the concept of Yeridas Hadoros, that we can't compare to the earlier generations, and therefore people get very annoyed when we compare our Rebbe to like the Baal Shem Tov. Oi! It gets people so aggravated, so upset. I remember my Rosh Hashiva in Borough Park. After I became a Lubavitcher, I went to visit him. And he's a Chassidish guy, because the Chassidish world today, so many Chassidim are so far Litvitch. They went to Litvitch, he was a Rav in Telz. So he's telling me that he took a Lubavitcher, he got a ride or whatever, and the guy was telling him, equating the Rebbe with Rabbi Akiva Eger. And he was so upset. Rabbi Akiva Eger lived 150, 200 years ago. How could you? He couldn't digest it. So we have a problem. Then alone, Lubavitchers go so much further. And when they speak about Moshe Rabbeinu, he means the Rebbe. You find me one Lubavitcher that talks about Moshe Rabbeinu, I means Moshe Rabbeinu. No? Every time a Lubavitcher is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, he's talking about the Rebbe. The Rebbe is Moshe Rabbeinu. That concept is so bothersome. Why? Because you read Asadoros. Because the people become less and less and less, and the tzaddikim become less and less and less and less and less and less. And the Hamamara Chazal, Anu, they were like, if we are like, they were like people, they were like malachim, angels, we're like people. If they were like people, we are like donkeys. And not like the donkey, or whatever. So this is like established. This is the way Jews believe. That's in regards to tzaddikim. The same is also in regards to the Jewish people. The idea that a Yid's amunah and a Yid's Yiddishkeit is stronger today. That Yidden today, because we've gone through 3,000 years and 2,000 years of exile, we are so much deeper as Jews, is such a foreign, alien idea, it would upset people to hear that. Because what do you mean? We can't compare to the previous generations. Regards to the world, it's such a normal reality when you don't learn Hasidus, that the world becomes schmutzier and schmutzier, and coarser and coarser, and darker and uglier and uglier, and a chamanas on the world. And I'll tell you an interesting thing. I was a Rabbi in Torah Emes for many years. One time, a student of mine made a siyum on Masechtas Baba Basra. I used to learn with him, B'chavrusa, Mishnayos. And he made a siyum. I was Baba Kama, but I don't remember which one. So they invited me to a breakfast, as well. I was still a Rebbe in Torah Emes, and I gave, and they asked me to speak. So, what I was going to say a word. So I gave over the Rebbe's discussion, the Sikha of the Rebbe, without mentioning the Rebbe. The idea of Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Basra. And the Rebbe explains that these are three phases of refinement of the world. Baba Kama deals with damages, speaking about the world when it's still in its initial rough state, where there's still a lot of full of hezekim, full of klippas in this world, horrible klippas that are very damaging. Then Baba Metzia comes to a state where people are kind of, there is fights and arguments, and there can be whatever, but it's not, I don't remember exactly the whole sikha, but the world has mellowed out to a great degree because it has been elevated. Baba Basra is talking about shutfim, contracts, it's talking about a Mashiach world. And the Rebbe, and I was explaining how the world. I gave my talk. Came over to me a younger man, another Rebbe in the yeshiva, so upset that I brought and I said that non-Jews today are more refined than they were 2,000 years ago. He was talking about what are you talking about? He brings me stories from the Bnei Ches with Avram Avinu, what kind of mention they were. And today everybody's a bunch of chalaris, mushchas, destroyed, blah, blah, blah. That means, what have we been doing here the last 3,000 years? What was the point of Torah and mitzvahs? Is all we got is an uglier world? He doesn't have an explanation. But one thing he knows, that the world is the most disgusting, despicable state. And this is what you'll hear. Comes Chassidus, flips the whole thing over, and explains how we've refined, and reveals where that refinement is to be seen. So you see progress both in the world, progress in the Jewish neshama, progress in tzaddikim. Why? Because the light of Mashiach keeps on. As we get closer to Mashiach, higher revelations of godliness come to the world. The world gets elevated. If that's the case, why should there only be Yom Tovim 3,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago? What are we? Aren't we major players? Aren't we on center stage? Isn't it happening now? Not just back then. It's happening now. You are part of this process. It's taking place, and Yiddishkeit is advancing continuously, getting deeper and higher and richer and purer and holier. It's a whole different story, a whole different reality. So of course, we can have a Yom Tov. The Alter Rebbe said that on Yutes Kislev, there's 3 Yom Tovim, the Alter Rebbe said. Chanukah, Purim, 3 rabbinic Yom Tovim. Chanukah, Purim, and Yutes Kislev, the Alter Rebbe said. Why? He said, because since there are 3 things that are bonded with each other, Yisrael, the Yidden, Vayraisa, and the Torah of Kutsha Berichu, and God are all unified as one unit. So the Alter Rebbe said like this: the Yavanim came to fight against the Torah. It was a war against the Torah. The Greeks, the Haman waged a war against Israel, against the Jewish people. And in Yutes Kislev there was a war against the Eibishter himself. because Chassidus came to reveal God in the world. And here there was a war waged against the revelation of the Eibishter himself. And as a result of Yutas Kislev, there is an Isgalus of Pnimius HaTorah, Chassidus, which brings us the Eibishter, reveals how Einoid Mulvada, God is real, the worlds are totally one with Elokus, and so on and so forth, all these revolutionary ideas. Of course we can have Yomim Tovim. And quite on the contrary, the biggest Yomim Tovim happen later on in history as we get closer and closer to the ultimate revelation. So it's perfectly not only fine, legitimate, but it's actually the greatest Yom Tov. That's why there are expressions that Yutas Kislev and Yud Beis Taamuz Chaga Chagim, not Stam Yom Tov. The Yom Tov of all Yomim Tovim. It's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different reality. I am proud and happy after 28 years to say Baruch Shehechiyanu V'Kiyamanu V'Gihiyanu Lazman Hazeh, that the Eibishter had Rachmanis on me and took me out Me'afela La'oir Gadol, from darkness to a tremendous light, a light so powerful and so strong that every single day it infuses me with so much energy and so much power and so much invigoration, such enlightenment, and I can never get enough of it. And that is why I'm thankful personally for me today. This day was a Chag HaGeula for me to open up my eyes to Pnimius HaTorah, to the richness, to the depth, to his kashrus, to the Rebbe, and to Chassidus in an emistic and deep way. And for this, I say Gut Yom Tov, and Gut Yom Tov, and Gut Yom Tov. L'chaim.
Yeah. Good to see you on Pico Boulevard.
What about here?
Chaim.
It's also
Pico Boulevard.
As I mentioned earlier, we can experience life on the surface and be superficial Yidden, and Chassidus opens us up to the pneumius of life, to the pneumius of what's going on. As a result of that, revolutionizing everything, changing everything, elevating everything. But here is a very, 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 very important idea. Because here is where it gets challenging for us. we can sit and laugh at others that haven't merited Chassidus, and we shouldn't laugh, we should just be pained, and we should know that we have not done our work correctly, because the Jewish people should all be learning Chassidus already. But that's one thing. The question is, how pneumistic are we? So even when it comes to Yud Beis Taamuz, and it comes to such a powerful day like today, we can experience this day on a very superficial level, or we can dig deep and enter into the pneumius of the day. And what's the difference? If we're on the surface, the same thing I mentioned earlier that happens to surface Yiddishkeit is that it gets weaker and weaker and weaker and drier and drier and drier, because on the surface things are becoming kind of more distant from the beginning and from the start. But the pneumius, in the inner dimension, in the inner purpose of everything, things are getting more intense, more powerful, more revealed, because the kavanah, the intention, we're realizing the intention more and more. So when we sit down Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tamuz on this Yom Tov, we can sit down like a bunch of schleppers and say, oh, you know what? Let's have a Farbrengen. It's Yom Tov, Fart Yom Tov. Let me schleppsach to a Farbrengen and sit down. Should I be excited about Yud Beis Tamuz like 90 years ago? When the Friediger Rebbe came out, you can imagine, it was Yom Shekulei Mashke. Chassidim were totally nuts. Everybody was crazy. Everybody was somersaulting. Everybody was kulyaning around. I mean, the joy, the happiness was ein l'shar. The energy that it released in the Chassidim around the world was like unbelievable. But we understand that happened then. And I'm sure the second and third year. But as years passed, it started getting a little bit less and less. And maybe the enthusiasm by people wore off. Then came our Rebbe. And the Rebbe, he picked us up. And he brought us to the pneumius of it from year to year. Every year he started revealing deeper in Yonim and Yud Beis Tamuz. Higher and deeper, and what's the significance of it, and how it's related to the ultimate revelation and Moshiach and the like. Deeper and deeper and deeper. So Yud Beis Tamuz becomes more and more powerful. Then Trach Gimel Tamuz happens, 23 years in which we couldn't tune in today to a live Farbrengen of the Rebbe and hear the Rebbe, Beguv Gashmi, telling us of Farbrengen and invigorating our souls. So what happens to all of us, and I'm challenged as much as everyone else, that this becomes another year. We sit down, we say L'chaim, we say, wow, it's so special, it's wonderful, and we try to irk out and squeeze out a little bit of a feeling of freedom in our soul, a little bit of courage, a little bit of strength to be able to do our avodah, but it's an oiske kvetchte, oiske hakta Yud Beis Tamuz. That's if we're living on the surface. If we, however, can tap into the pneumius, then we realize that the Yom Tov of Yud Beis Tamuz and its message of redemption and its energy of redemption and its soul of redemption is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the reality is there was never such a powerful Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tamuz like right now. This is the most Yud Beis Tamuz like it has never been, even the first year when the Rebbe came out of jail. That's the emes la'amitoi, and that's the way the Rebbe wants us to live, because that's the truth. The Rebbe doesn't want us to live in a fantasy. He just wants to keep the engine going. See, he hopes Lubavitchers can continue to be fanatical crazy and determined to this. It's not the Chas v'Sholom, he's not emes. The Rebbe is telling us the truth. So what does it mean? How does it work? Just on a simple level, we understand that the energy, the power of the day is only what is it called? Snowballing, right? Which means it picks up momentum. Which means that the Friediger Rebbe was released from prison 90 years ago, and as a result of that, Chassidim were infused with energy to reach, to inspire, to break the Russian powerful Klippa, the powerful force against Torah and mitzvahs and against Hashem that was in the world. It infused them with energy and with Mesiras Nefesh. And from year to year, this Mesiras Nefesh continued and bore more and more fruits. More and more and more and more, and it lasted for 70 years until the collapse of communism. And today, what is Yud Beis Tamuz accomplishing? thousands and thousands of Jewish children across the former Soviet Union with Bais and with tzitzis and Shema Yisrael and enthused with Torah and Mitzvah, bringing Mashiach. Unbelievable. Then Yud Beis Taamuz led us to our Rebbe, and our Rebbe coming to the world and converting, transforming, making such a ma'apecha, such a revolution, and bringing so much light, so much energy, and from year to year that multiplies, from year to year that gets stronger, because there are so many more people this year invigorated and involved in bringing Mashiach and in learning Torah Chassidus, because we've reached so much more Jews. That momentum that grows, and that's why it's really stronger. But really, that happens Yud Beis Taamuz every year. And it's true, based on that calculation, it's stronger today than it has ever been. But what is unique and special and unbelievably special about this year Yud Beis Taamuz, that we can really, really dance and sing and celebrate with such simcha and such joy. And mamish, this is unbelievable. What's special about this year is that this year is 90 years. The liberation of the Farbrengen Rebbe happened in 1927, and this year it's now 2017. So it's 90 years since the first Yud Beis Taamuz. Now 90 years is an incredible number. 90 years, the number 90 is the number of Mashiach. The number 90, again, is Mashiach. Why? The Geula of Mitzrayim came about from the letter Pei. There are a few letters in which they are all the double letters in the Aleph Beis, Menatzbach, Mem, Nun, Tzadik, Pei, Chav. These are the letters of Geula, of redemption. Avram Avinu was redeemed with the Chav, Lech Lecha. Yitzchak was redeemed with a Mem, Otzamta Mimenu. Yaakov was redeemed with a Nun, Hatzileni Na. And then the Yidden and Mitzrayim were redeemed with the Pei, Pakoid, Pokadati. And Moshe Rabbeinu was 80 years old when he took the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. The Redeemer was 80 years old. Mashiach Tzidkenu is connected to the prophecy, to the words, the secret, the key to the Geula is the words Tzamach Tzomachti. A tzamach, a plant, Tzomachti has sprouted forth. So the Geula is related with the letter Tzadik. The letter Tzadik is the letter of redemption, and therefore it's connected to Shnas HaTishim. So I would like to take everybody back with me a little bit and rewind. I would like to rewind with you a little bit to 200, 300 years ago. You see, when Chassidus began, and the Baal Shem Tov came to the world, and the Baal Shem Tov started to reveal the neshama of every Yid, and reveal how the Jewish people are so connected, and show every Yid be'etzem is a ben yochid of the Eibishter, and all the other ideas that Chassidus and the Baal Shem Tov brought, it really, really, really evolved around one nekuda, one point, which was at the core and the root of it all. The Baal Shem Tov's neshama went up to the Heichal HaMoshiach, and when the Baal Shem Tov was in the Moshiach's chamber, we all know that he said to Moshiach, Eimasai ka'osimar, when are you, Master, coming? And Moshiach said, when you're going to get your teachings out there. It's not dependent on me, it's dependent on you. Similar to what the Rebbe told us, I just realized right now. Chav Ches Nisan, I'm going to talk about that later. The Rebbe said, it's not up to me, I'm giving it over to you. Mashiach back in the Heichal HaBaal Shem Tov said the same thing to the Baal Shem Tov. Don't look to me, it's up to you. Your teachings need to spread over the whole world, Mashiach will come. The underlying inyan of Chassidus was Oiroi Shel Mashiach. However, in the days of the Baal Shem Tov, this idea that the Baal Shem Tov is all about Mashiach and that his teachings is the light of Mashiach, even though the Baal Shem Tov knew it, and it ended up in a book called Ben Poiris Yosef, written by Rabbi Yosef of Pulna, a great student, the Toldos Yaakov Yosef. It ended up over there, and it's printed in that book. And later, Chassidim made a song, but the first generations and generations of Chassidim and the Alter Rebbe and the days like this, it wasn't something that people spoke about and realized and connected to. It was an idea that's said in the Sefer. And in some Chassidish Svarim outside of Chabad as well, the idea is brought that the Baal Shem Tov is really the future light of Mashiach and Achana for Mashiach. Then, when the Alter Rebbe gave us the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe dropped a bomb. The Alter Rebbe suddenly turned over, he revealed something unbelievable. In Perek Lamed Vav and Perek Lamed Zayin, it's the first person in all of history who revealed us the ultimate purpose of all of creation. And that is to make for the Eibishter a home in this world. That's the purpose. No one believed that. No one thought that. The Alter Rebbe, with that chapter, Perek Lamed Vav, literally took all of Judaism and turned it on its head upside down. Everything changed. The Alter Rebbe is telling us what was going on in God's heart, in his innermost heart of hearts when he decided to create the world. And the Alter Rebbe said, I can't explain it to you. I can't explain it to you because it doesn't have a rational reason. There's no question. Must be that the Alter Rebbe is inside the Eibishter's heart to be able to feel the Eibishter's taiva, or else how would he know? Right? Oh, because tzaddikim, right? Mushrish and Atzmus. We're all mushrish and Atzmus, as we'll get to a little later. But yeah, Dira B'Tachtoinim. Wow. What's Dira B'Tachtoinim? The Alter Rebbe says, Kol Tachlis. All the work of why the Eibishter created the world were for the days of Mashiach. So the Alter Rebbe put Mashiach as the ultimate goal in all of Yiddishkeit. It's all about that day when God will have a home in this world, which means God will be totally revealed and perfectly comfortable in our world, which is going to happen when Mashiach comes. So the Alter Rebbe brought us suddenly the Lubavitcher drive to Mashiach, that Mashiach became something so important, happened in the third generation of Chassidus with the Alter Rebbe. Then this continued on, kind of quiet, but even in Chassidus Chabad, this was like the ultimate purpose, but people were not told in their everyday avodah that they should live and be inspired and be driven about Mashiach, for Mashiach. It was something to know that this is the ultimate kivun. This is the ultimate purpose. And therefore, if you're a chassid and you're experiencing extreme ecstasy, fervor, desire in davening, and you want to experience a rotzah, and you're ready in the neshama to blow out of your body, control yourself, because that's not the purpose. The purpose is to bring God's light down in your body and in the world. So that's why the Alter Rebbe lays it out. So I understand it had an effect that Mashiach was kind of on the horizon. It was important, but it was not the everyday life of a chassid connected to the Alter Rebbe. This was not his energy. This is not his life. Comes the Rebbe Rashab, a few generations later, as we're getting closer and closer to the end, the fifth Chabad Rebbe, and he starts exploring the inyan of Dira B'Tachtoinim and Samach Vav, and he starts revealing the omek and the depth of how this is the kavan of Atzmus and how this is the whole purpose. And he takes the idea of Nesava Kadosh Baruch Hu Liyas Dira B'Tachtoinim to such a whole deep level, wow, much deeper than the Alter Rebbe spoke. In other words, of course, it's there in the Alter Rebbe's words, because all of Chassidus is there in a seed in the Alter Rebbe, but it's very concealed in the Alter Rebbe. The Rebbe Rashab made a ganze mapech out of it. Not only that, the Rebbe Rashab started a yeshiva, and he took a bunch of bachrim, and he said, Chevre, listen here, you are the armies of David HaMelech. You are Chayolei Beis David. Mashiach, David HaMelech, needs an army who are going to do his work. You are the armies of David HaMelech. And you are going to reach out with love, with enthusiasm, with excitement. You are going to teach and inspire Jews across the world. You're going to bring Yidden to Torah and mitzvahs. And he told them you're going to face two powerful generations of opposition. One generation of opposition is standing against the Eibishter. The lashon over there, Hashem. Those that have cherfu, I don't know what the right word for that is. They've mocked Hashem, you, and Asher Cherfu Ikvois Mishichecha, those that are going to oppose Mashiach. Which means there's going to be a generation where they're going to fight God, and for that there is coming Yeshivas Toimchet Tmimim, which we know that the Lubavitcher Bachrim, who later got married and became Lubavitcher Yungelite, were the ones who stood, and that's the whole celebration of Yud Beis Taamuz. We're the only ones when everybody fled. Can't say the only ones. There were a few individuals that there were amongst other Yidden. We can't say, but b'oifin klali, the drive to stay steadfast and to fight for the perseverance of Yiddishkeit against the government that tried to completely wipe out and destroy every remnant, every zecher of the Eibishter in this world. Chassidei Chabad, because you're the generation Asher Cherfu that are going to fight against those that are fighting against God. And then there's going to come another generation where there won't be any more opposition against Torah and mitzvahs, but there will be a coldness and an opposition. I'm creating Tamimim, Bachrim, who have the light and the neshamas are turned on from the deepest, innermost point of their soul, Bali Mesiras Nefesh. And you're going to have the courage and the ability to be able to blast through these two generations of powerful Klippa, and you're going to lead us the way to Mashiach. That was the Rebbe Rishab. Then came the Friediger Rebbe, and the Friediger Rebbe announced a whole new announcement. He took Mashiach and he made it far more. The Rebbe Rishab was talking about Mashiach as something that's going to happen. We still have two generations to kind of fight it, to be able to overcome. The Friediger Rebbe came, and the Friediger Rebbe added one word. Everybody knows those words. Li'alter le'giula. Giula now. Mashiach now. But the Friediger Rebbe added one condition. La'alter le'tshuva, li'alter le'giula. Yidden can do tshuva right now, and when they do tshuva right now, immediately Mashiach will come. And the Friediger Rebbe started talking in his letters again and again how Mashiach is already burning down the walls of Galus. He's behind the wall. There are cracks in the wall already. We can see him through the cracks. He's tangible. The Friediger Rebbe made a Mashiach Trask or Mashiach campaign, and everybody in the Jewish people got annoyed. Everybody got bothered. This is Messianism. People were getting upset about the Friediger Rebbe. Where does he come from? Where is he taking this from? World Jewry as alone was looking from the side. Some of them had the chutzpah to even chas v'sholom come out against the Friediger Rebbe, and others at least watched on the side and see these crazy Lubavitchers. All right, Friediger Rebbe came with the Alta L'Tshuva and the Alta L'Geula. This was a powerful message for the last 10 years of the Friediger Rebbe's life. Then came Basi Legani on Yud Shvat Tavshin. I'm not saying anything new to you today. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just reviewing, okay? I just want to review. Because we always have to go back to know our history. To know what we're all about, we have to go back to the basics. Came the Rebbe on Basi Legani, and Basi Legani Achoisi Kalo. And the Rebbe started telling us, not stam about La'alter L'Tshuva, La'alter L'Geula. The Rebbe told us that we are the 7th generation. And we're going to complete the work of Amshachas HaShechina, of bringing down the Shechina Lamat in this world. We are the last generation of the Golas, and we are the first generation of the Geula. And therefore, Chevra, we're going to get to work now, and I'm not going to let you sleep. I'm not going to let you watch me do the work. You want to sign up and be my chassid? I'm going to squeeze the kishkas out of you, the Rebbe said. Clearly he said, you're not going to sleep with me. Maybe a different kind of a Rebbe, the Rebbe said. I'm going to put you through the grind. We're going to do this together. And guess what? Let's watch the Rebbe over the next 40 years. Slowly but surely begins the work of Afatzas HaTorah and Afatzas HaYahadus across the entire world. Batei Chabad, new concept across the world. Who has Batei? What's Batei Chabad? Batei Chabad is an embassy. A Beis Chabad means an embassy. Who has an embassy? A country, a kingdom, an empire as an embassy. The Rebbe started setting up his ambassadors and his embassies across the whole world. Wow, that's wild. That's something else. That's imminence of Mashiach. That's not something happening when, where. Then the Rebbe took it a step further, and the Rebbe started with mitzvah tanks. Oh, wow, that's oh, come on. Mitzvah tanks, who has tanks? Tanks is already going to war. We're going to fight a battle. We're going to win. Victory. Nation after nation, we are conquering. This is our bread and butter. This is what we grew up. This is now the milk that we nursed from our mothers. Not me, I came later, but it's in my mother's milk too. For sure, or else where would I be so excited about it? So there's tanks. And then the Rebbe, in the Mem, the Rebbe started with creating a mamish army. And he used the best soldiers. The best of the best. Only the Rebbe can come up with that. He chooses all the children to be his army. The Kinderlich. And the Rebbe infuses them all. We want Mashiach now. We're going to drive Geula, 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 Geula. The Rebbe's pumping. He's not stopping. Mashiach, 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 Mashiach. We want Mashiach now. He has an army. He has women that have neshek. He has tanks. He has embassies. He has ambassadors. No one in all of Yiddishkeit ever thought of this. No one has never happened. This is wild. And now, Afatzas HaMayonis, to bring Mashiach, is like the most important thing. It's not stam to learn Chassidus to inspire so you can daven 14 hours. It's to learn Chassidus so you can bring Mashiach, because Mashiach is dependent on this. Everything's nice and good until we come to Tafshin Nun. And comes Yud Aleph Nisan, and we go Tafshin Nun, and the Rebbe, wow, it's a whole new level. Tafshin Nun is when we read Friday midday, the Rebbe's excitement grows and grows. And the Rebbe says we've entered already into a time of Higiyaz Man Gulaschem, the time of redemption has arrived. Yidden, medaf sich to the Geula. We have to prepare ourselves for Mashiach. It's mamish. It's happening. Tafshin Nun Aleph, Yud Aleph Nisan is when the Rebbe reaches his 90th birthday. And in that year, from the year Tafshin Nun Aleph, till as far as we heard the Rebbe's Sichas and Tafshin Nun Bais, the talk about the Mashiach reached the climax, reached such a level that everything that was before that was paled. Nothing could compare to such diburim and such non-stop and on deeper levels and on deeper levels and on deeper levels. Now, because there is so much light in those Farbrengens, there is so much power and so much energy and so much invigoration. It's like the etzem, as we're going to speak later, the etzem of the Rebbe, not even nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, yechida, the essence of the Rebbe, in which he's waking up our essence, is in those sichas, in those maimarim. Lubavitcher Chassidim are terrified of those maimarim. And those sichas. 3/4 of Lubavitch has closed those books and put them somewhere and letting dust collect because we don't know what to do with them. It's too intense. Too much. We can't fit it into our minds because we have Gimel Taamuz and we have something that happened, and therefore we don't know what to do with these sichas from that last year. But in that last year, the Rebbe begins talking about that we reach Shnas HaTzadik. And since we're holding at the 90th year, which is a time of Tzemach Tzomachti, and the Rebbe's infusion about Geula goes so strong that we're holding by Tefillah Lamai. Look through the Sichas. The Rebbe doesn't stop. Which telling us 90, and that's again the peak. And 3 phases in that year. Let me say 3 phases. There was a famous Sicha where the Rebbe took the responsibility to bring Mashiach and he gave it over to us, which I'd like to talk about, Be'ezus Hashem, a little later in the Farbrengen. The Rebbe explained what that means the next few weeks in those sichas, where the Rebbe told us that we have to take responsibility to bring Mashiach. Lahavi liyamoisa Mashiach has to become. We have to be so saturated with this drive. This has to permeate us from the deepest point of our being into our most external elements of our soul. We have to live and breathe and mamish be Mashiachtig. Our entire obsession has to be Lahavi liyamoisa Mashiach. That went for the first 3 months after that famous Sicha. Then came another three months of Farbrengens where the Rebbe's tune changed. The Rebbe wasn't saying we have to bring Mashiach. The Rebbe started talking about we start living Mashiach. That's a big change. Not we have to be so determined and crazy and mad about bringing Mashiach. We have to start living the Geula. Lichyos and Mashiach. New words, we've never heard that. Our energy, our life is Mashiach, and we have to start living in Mashiach's reality. Fine. Then came another 2 months where the Rebbe introduced new things about Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, actually receiving Mashiach. That was a next, that's where it moved towards. Receiving, greeting, receiving Mashiach. And finally, the Rebbe's last 2 months was, wow. The Rebbe said Mashiach is here already, everything is here already, we have already the Sher HaBoyer and the Leviyosin, everything happened, we just have to open up our eyes. Wow. That's how far the Rebbe brought us. And the Rebbe told us that we are standing right now al Saf HaGiyula. You know what that means, Saf HaGiyula? On the threshold of redemption. 90 years. So now I would like to stop for a moment and apply. Meanwhile, after that, it seems like we don't have explanations, but we do know one thing. It seems like the Rebbe brought us right to the threshold and said, Chevre, you're not going to rely on me for this one. You are going to step over the threshold. You're going to do it. So whatever, where the Rebbe is, he's telling us, Chevre, you're going to step over the threshold. So that's where we're standing. We're still standing by the threshold, looks like a little bit, because we have to make that move. Fine. Let's talk about, however, 90. The Rebbe is talking about 90 as 90 is talking about since the Rebbe is born. That was his 90th year, Yud Aleph Nisan, 90 years. However, to a certain extent, and a very big way, 90 years is really related to 90 years of Yud Beis Tamuz. Why? Because it's very, very clear. When one takes a little bit of a step back and we look at Lubavitch, we look at the world Jewry, and we look at Golus and Geula, we see that something pivotal happened on Yud Beis Tamuz. The Rebbe talks about Yud Beis Tamuz as in some way a beginning, or this Geula is connected to the Geula HaMitis VaHashleima, the ultimate Geula. Another very interesting thing is that the Rebbe, our Rebbe, he's born in Yud Aleph Nisan. But his connection as our leader became when he married the Friediger Rebbe's daughter. The Rebbe married the Friediger Rebbe's daughter. So three years in Tafresh Pei Daled. Pei Daled is 1924. Is when the Rebbe came the first, I think it was the second time. When the Friediger Rebbe met. Anyways, the Rebbe got officially engaged. The Friediger Rebbe took the Rebbe as a son-in-law. The wedding was supposed to be, and this is I heard from a chassid, Rabbi Astulin told me that he heard this from old chassidim, that the initial date of the Rebbe's wedding initially was supposed to be Tafresh Pei Zayin. They simply did not have any money to make the wedding. Tafresh Pei Zayin is 1927. When exactly, I don't know. So, because of technical things, the wedding did not happen then. But officially, the wedding needed to happen that time, which means that the Rebbe, as the power taking over from the Friediger Rebbe and bringing us to Mashiach, it's a whole new level from 1927. But to understand that a little better, and to realize it, is that here's just an idea, an important concept to understand, appreciate. What does Yud Beis Tamuz have to do with the ultimate redemption of the entire world from Golus? We are now in Golus. The Golus we are in is Golus Edom. The Golus. What is Golus? Golus is a force in the world. It's a force of darkness that is here to block and to conceal two things. It's here as something, as an as a block of the Eibishter. It conceals Hashem in the world. It blocks and it conceals and it stands as an obstacle to the Jew. It's a power that oppresses the Jew, and it's a power that interferes with Torah and mitzvahs. Think about it. The first thing that happens in Golus is that it's a powerful Chilul Hashem. It's a Helen Vehester, the Eibishter, as the ruler of the world. When the Titus, when he went in and he Chas v'Shalom stabbed the Aron HaKodesh, and blood came out, And then we know that the nation, Lama Yomru Agoyim, why should the nation say, Ayeno Lekeyam, where's their God? The biggest Chilul Hashem and the challenge to the idea that the Eibishter is the king of the world is challenged by Golus. Golus creates a chas v'sholem, an illusion, as if Ein Balabayas, there is no Balabayas, there's no law and order in the world, everybody can do whatever they want. That's a challenge on the Eibishter. And then, we don't have to even speak about this, the brutal persecutions and suffering that the Jewish people had throughout the Golus. Again and again and again, such suffering, such brutality, such persecution. Jews were trampled on again and again and again. If there is no God, chas v'shalom, and what's trying to be said, and the Eibishter is quiet and muted and silent, then his children can be persecuted and done whatever they want with chas v'shalom. So that's the second element in Golus. The third element in Golus is that the Klippa don't allow interference with Torah and mitzvahs. So going back to the Romans, there was all kinds of decrees against not to allow Yidden to do mitzvahs. There was decrees against tefillin. There were times they didn't allow mikveh. They didn't allow bris milah. They didn't allow reading in the Torah on Shabbos. They had to introduce navi and all kinds of other things constantly through Golus. Most notorious amongst them is the Spanish in Spain, where Jews had to go into hiding. They were banished. They had to go out. And if you stayed there, you were not allowed to practice Judaism, or else chas v'shalom, you were burnt at the stake. And so on and so forth. And throughout Golus, there was all these gezeres against Yiddishkeit, against Torah and mitzvahs, and the like. That's Golus. Now, what is the purpose of this Golus? What's the purpose? The purpose is, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things, there's two things, but one of the purposes of Golus is, as a result of all these oppositions, and all these obstacles against the Jew and against Torah and mitzvahs, and when these are obstacles that stand in our way, and it threatens to disconnect us from the Eibishter, and our Pintel Yid is woken up, and our Pintel Yid says, no way, you're not going to disconnect me from Tefillin, you're not going to disconnect me from Shabbos, you're not going to tear away my child, and chas v'shalom, send him to a school where they're going to pollute his mind and with ideas of atheism and then completely wipe. No way you're going to do that. And I'm willing to die for that. I'm willing to die to be a Jew. So the rock solid, deep Mesiras Nefesh, the rock solid determination, the firm, powerful Mesiras Nefesh, the Pintel Yid that a Yid has, the Eson Sheb Neshama comes out. The deepest Jew, and for some reason it reveals our connection to the Eibishter on the highest level. That is the purpose of Golus. This is what it does. But then there's another purpose of Golus. That other purpose of Golus is primarily realized at the very end of Golus, as I'll explain in a minute. After all these persecutions, and after the Jews are persecuted and Torah and mitzvahs is blocked, there comes what we might call phase 2 in the exile, and that is, the purpose is not only to challenge the Jew and bring out the depth of the Jewish neshama, but the real purpose is that we should take all these challenging forces, all these powers that stand against Torah and mitzvahs and against the Jewish people and the like, and actually turn them over and make them darkness itself should become light. And that's the idea of finding all the sparks of holiness and elevating them and transforming it. And in every place in the world, in accordance to the nature of that country, in accordance to the style of the country, we should utilize all of the mishagas of that country to serve the Eibishter. And as a result of that, we reveal the pneumius of every place in this world. Gavaldik. That's the second element in Golus. It's possible to say, and this is just looking at it, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it's possible to say that the Golus as a force of oppression, a force that's here to crush and to break and to challenge the Jew, to squeeze out the Pintel Yid, reached its climax in 1927 in the Soviet regime, in the Soviet government, putting all their efforts and all their energy, almighty, powerful, one of the strongest forces ever as a nation, were going to use all their resources to stop Yidden from keeping Torah and mitzvahs in Russia. That's where the fight against Torah and mitzvahs reached its climax. The fight against the Jewish people, sadly, the war against Israel and destruction of Israel reached its epitome and its ultimate force in the Holocaust, in where 6 million Yidden were destroyed just because they're Jews. So you have two inyanim, a fight against Torah and mitzvahs, which includes also a fight against the Eibishter, because the Soviet Union, the part was, all of it was, take the Eibishter off the map, and therefore take his Torah and mitzvahs off the map, and the like. The Friediger Rebbe, at that time, when this fierce Esav, kind of robust Esav, Edo, in all of his ferociousness, and all of his animosity, and all of his hatred, is attacking the Jewish people and getting in their way and trying to disconnect them, literally sever them, literally cut them off, amputate 3 million Jews living in Russia from observance of Torah and mitzvahs. And they finally had the leader. They had the Friediger Rebbe. And the Friediger Rebbe, in a manner if you read the story and you read it again and again, and you see the unbelievable courage that is not human courage. It's the rock solid courage of the Eibishter. It's the Eibishter's truth. This is nothing less than that. It's an infinite power. It's deeper than infinite. It's the essence. The power that the Friediger Rebbe stood up against this powerful regime, laughed at them, told them they are nothing, and broke them and busted that bubble. He broke them. And as the Rebbe says, the Friediger Rebbe proved that according to law, it's permitted for Yidden to learn Torah and do mitzvahs, even in the Soviet Union. According to law, which means there cannot be something in this world, a government that legitimizes a fight against God. The Friediger Rebbe broke them. He left Russia. It wasn't over yet after the Friediger Rebbe was released from Soviet Union, from Russia. The battle continued for 70 years. Chassidim gave their lives. Blood was spilled. Hundreds of Chassidim fought for the perseverance and preservation of Yiddishkeit and Torah and mitzvahs in Russia. But in 1990, we saw in 1989 how the entire klippa went poof. And take a look what's happening in Russia today. It's mamish, miracles, Sheba miracles, unbelievable. Yidden won. Torah and mitzvahs won. The Eibishter won. Kedusha won. We triumphed. Golus was broken. The Friediger Rebbe broke Golus. Caputo. Gone. It's gone. It's broken. Sadly, even after the Friediger Rebbe came out of jail, the war against the Jewish people did not end. And just a few years later, we had the 6 million that were lost. And again, with all its vengeance, with all its animosity, and with all of its hatred, and with all that inexplainable atrocity and whatever that was done, we don't understand, it doesn't make any sense. This is what happened. The Golus is spent, over, gone. What happens now? What happened over the last, after the Friediger Rebbe came out of jail? When the Friediger Rebbe came out, and this is the Friediger Rebbe's Inyan, which later translated primarily the Rebbe's Avodah. What's the Rebbe's Avodah? Not anymore to reveal the depth of the Jewish neshama as a result of fighting the opposition, but the second Inyan of Golus, to take all of the nations of the world and to convert them all l'avdoi Shem echad. How is that done? When Jews will go across the entire world, they will learn Torah, they will do mitzvahs, each one in their country, each one. And never in all of history, the Rebbe says, we're Jews across the entire world. Why were there never in history Jews across the whole world? Because never in history was there a Lubavitcher Rebbe to send Jews across the whole world to enliven Yiddishkeit. But that's what happened. And we were able to reach out and mamish, pick up and elevate the entire world. So the Rebbe tells us the Avodas HaBerurim is over. We've elevated, we've displayed Kedusha, holiness, Shabbos, Kashrus, Mikveh, this, that, everything across the entire world, filled with Gili Elokus. Unbelievable. The Avodah is over, the Rebbe says. Right? But this is the Rebbe's Avodah, a different Inyan. There's no more an Inyan of crushing power to this world. Therefore, the Inyan of Geula, of the redemption, begins Taka Yud Beis Taamuz. Because Golus reached its most intense this was its last attempt to crush the Jewish people. The Friediger Rebbe fought and he broke them. According to Kabbalah, I'm going to talk a little mysticism for a moment. According to Kabbalah, the Geula is associated with the sixth one. Geula is associated with the attribute of Yesod. Yesod is called Geula. We all know when you're supposed to put Smichas Geula letfila. Geula to davening, tefillah is Malchus, and Yesod is Geula. It says also in Rus, Im Yiga'olcha Tov, if Tov is going to redeem you. So Tov, we know, is the Inyan of Yesod is called Tov, because Tov is Gematria 17. And Yosef HaTzadik, who is the attribute of Yesod, is also the sixth of all the tzaddikim. Yosef HaTzadik is the one so Yosef is called 17, so it's Gematria Tov. So Geula is connected to Yesod. We also know, but simply by Yosef, that there is a concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, which means that really, in truth, the power of redemption, its infusion, comes through the sixth tzaddik. It comes through Yesod. So the Friediger Rebbe is the one who's the sixth, and that's why Mashiach comes in the sixth millennium, because the power of the Giyul is all in the Mashiach, and the Rebbe didn't stop telling this to us. Yosef Yitzchak, Yosef Hashem Shenis Yodoi, the Eibush is going to again stretch out his hand, and Yitzchak is the laughter of Oz Yamali Schleik Pinu. Who heard such Tikkurim? Who ever heard such words coming from any tzaddik throughout all of history? And the Rebbe is saying the Friediger Rebbe is Mashiach Shebedoyer. He's the unbelievable, because he is the one who breaks the Geula, breaks the Golus, and begins the Geula, begins the redemption. Then the Rebbe is the continuation of that, to actually take the Golus itself and make it Geula, to bring the Aleph into Geula and make it Geula, and to finish the job. That's Malchus already. That's the final revelation of it. So I'd like to. And how long does that? So therefore it makes a lot of sense to understand, and we understand, that 90 years from when the Friediger Rebbe busted the Golus, let's think about it. When Moshe Rabbeinu was born, what happened when Moshe Rabbeinu was born? The Smala Kol Abayis Oira, the whole world became full, the whole light. What was the light? The light was the light of the redemption. Ad Kedei Kach, that the Egyptian sorcerers were saying, today is going to be born Mashiach Shal Yisrael. They sensed it, they know it. The birth of this, because already at the birth. So, right at the beginning of the 90 years, you have already Mashiach. It's there already. Then Moshe Rabbeinu, then, it takes him 80 years until he comes redeems the Jewish people. So there's an Inyan of 90 associated with this Yud Beis Taamuz. It's 90 years, in which it takes the Geula to develop for Mashiach to come. So I'm watching the ladies and I'm seeing they're raising up their hands and saying, Oy Rabbeinu Shalom. Oy Rabbeinu Shalom. Zol Shin Zan from Rabbi Wolf's mouth to your ears. Eibishter, please. Zol Shin Zan. So let me share with you something that's going to make you very happy. Very happy. We have to keep a Jew happy. So I want to share with you today, I went to the mikveh today in the morning, and I davened to the Eibush. I said, please direct my thoughts and my heart as I'm under the water. What I should say, how I should say. I just want to be a conduit. I don't want to be mixed into this. An hour later, I had such a Gilui Oyer, such a revelation that Mamish sent me spinning. I haven't had something like this in years. In davening, we say every day, Va'olu Moshiach Bahar Tzion, Lishboit Es HaResav. It's the end of Oz Yasher. Va'olu Moshiach, the Moshiach, the ones that were saved, will go up Bahar Tzion, in the mountain of Tzion, Lishboit, to judge as Har Esav, the mountain of Esav. V'hoisal Hashem Amlucha, and to Hashem will be the kingdom. That means the process of Mashiach is those that are saved will go up to the mountain of Tzion, and from the mountain of Tzion they're going to judge the mountain of Esav, and then God is going to be king over the whole world. So I have a simple question. If we're going to judge the mountain of Esav, Esav is living in Seir. So why are you going Va'ala Mashiach Bahar Tzion? Why are we going up Bahar Tzion Lishboit Tesar Esav? It should say Va'ala Mashiach Bahar Esav Lishboit Lishpoit as Har Eitzah. Or V'Olo Mashiach B'Har Seir. Let the Mashiach go up on Mount Seir. Lishpoit as Har Seir, or as Har Eitzah. Because Esav is in Seir, not on Har Tzion. If anything, the Arabs are on Har Tzion. V'Olo Mashiach B'Har Tzion. Lishpoit as Yishmael. As Har whatever. What does Esav have to do? So, again, WhatsApp. Oh, Eibishter. Unbelievable. WhatsApp comes to the rescue. A few days ago, I received something from a fellow who sends me. Usually he sends me annoying WhatsApps, funny ones, but I don't have to look at all these things. But once in a while, the Abish says, I watch. One of them was very funny that I watched yesterday. Was about a diet, and it was really, really funny. Everybody should call it. It's called Skinny Penny. Made me laugh like crazy. It's really good. If anybody needs a little bit something, I'll send it to you later. The other one was serious. What was this Indian? What was the story? So it relates a story that when the Frierdiker Rebbe came out of Russia, the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America on a visit. In 1929, the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. And when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America, and the Frierdiker Rebbe writes this in his journal, on the first time, not when he came here to move, he went and he was invited to Philadelphia. The Frierdiker Rebbe went on a train and he went to Philadelphia and he got an official invitation by the city of Philadelphia. The mayor sent him an invitation. They said such a hero like you, who fought for liberty in the world, should come visit Philadelphia. The Frierdiker Rebbe describes how when he came there, he was immediately escorted, and he describes the escort of like 50 the escort. Polerka, just over there, and over here they're taking me to the and they were taking the Frierdiker Rebbe to the Hall of Independence. The Frierdiker Rebbe came into the Hall of Independence, and he describes how there's two rooms over there. One room is a room where the Declaration of Independence was written, I think, and on the side there is a chair that George Washington sat on that chair. When they were forming somehow the Declaration of Independence, George Washington sat on that chair. No one is allowed to sit on that chair, the Rebbe says, besides kings and heads of state. He comes into that room, and they honor the Frierdiker Rebbe to sit on that chair. And the Frierdiker Rebbe writes how he went on that chair, and that he should bless America. You hear that? He should bless America from the George Washington's chair. The Frierdiker Rebbe sat down on the chair. He spoke about America. First he speaks in Yiddish for a while, and then he sat on George Washington's chair, and he spoke about the greatness, and he mentioned that the Abi Beis is a bracha for the United States of America. And then he says that from when he came, he always wanted to come to the cradle. I don't remember exactly the Lashon. He wanted to come to the cradle of American freedom. Fine. Then the Frierdiker Rebbe came into the next room, and he put down a bouquet of flowers. And he describes how that's what you do. He put him a bouquet of flowers. He put down, in the Liberty Bell, put down a bouquet of flowers. And the Frierdiker Rebbe made an announcement, said like this, that the truest freedom is freedom that is based on religion, on faith. Freedom that is based on faith is the true freedom. And then they took him out, and the mayor gave a whole speech about the Frierdiker Rebbe and his courage and what kind of honor it is to have him. The Frierdiker Rebbe sitting on George Washington's chair. George Washington was a great man. The Frierdiker Rebbe has to sit on his chair. I mean, after all, the word tzaddikim, they always tell, when I heard this, that when they came to a place, they never wanted to sleep on a bed that anybody else slept on that bed. Even any Jew. They had to have a new mattress. Because tzaddikim that are super sensitive to any kind of thing, and the machshava zaris, and who knows what, go into it. Every day when I take my talis, and sometimes I do Shabbos, I don't know which one is my talis, I take a shmek, if I smell my machshava zaris, based on my talis. So we know that our thoughts go into our stuff. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, George Washington, was he a tzaddik? The Frierdiker Rebbe has to sit on his chair. So it reminds me of another story, a beautiful story. The Rebbe Rashab and the Frierdiker Rebbe once came to Paris. And there's a beautiful park in Paris. And that park in Paris was so beautiful. Paris is like the capital of culture and the like in the world. So there were kings from all over Europe that had tents or little booths in that in that park locked. It was locked. And when they came, they had a place where they can relax. This was their quarters in the park. The rule in that park was that you had to wear white slippers. You can't walk because they didn't want anybody to make the park dirty. You have to put on white slippers. The Rebbe Rashab didn't want to wear white slippers because he was afraid that it might be a mix of wool and linen. What is he going to do? So he went. Yeah. What? No, it was in Paris, but it was not. It was in Paris, but over there it was the Kaiser Wilhelm's. In Paris, that's where it was.
Kaiser's Villa in Paris.
It was the Kaiser's Villa in Paris. Yeah. So it was in Paris. Yeah, that's why I read the story today. So now in order not to put on those white slippers, the Rebbe Rashab took white kerchiefs and he tied it on his shoes by him and the Friediger Rebbe, and they were both walking with these white kerchiefs on their shoes. They came around, and while they're walking in this beautiful garden, the Rebbe Rashab tells the Friediger Rebbe, I would like to go into the booth of Kaiser Wilhelm from Germany. I want to go into his booth. So the Rebbe's father the Rebbe wants to go in. The Friediger Rebbe is going to do whatever it takes to get him there. So they go to a place which was like a picnic area where there's small tables, and people sit down and they can eat lunch there. And there are waiters that are walking around, and you can make an order. And I guess this is a very, very sophisticated area, and not just. I guess they must have had permission to go there. How they even got into this park? But so the Friediger Rebbe, so the waiters go and they get food. They like. So the Friediger Rebbe orders mineral water. Orders a drink, mineral water. So the waiter comes, and the Friediger Rebbe takes out a coin, a gold coin or whatever, like he gave him a $100 bill, something like that. And he told him to keep the change. Okay. That method worked already a long time ago, right? So then he calls over the waiter again, and he says, we would like to go into the Kaiser Wilhelm's booth. Is there any way you can help me get in there? So he's thinking, okay, listen, if just for the drink he got such a tip. It wouldn't hurt if you. So he tells the Rebbe, wait till people leave, and a little later I'll see what I can do. So it goes on a little while. People left. He comes back. He calls the Friediger Rebbe and the Rebbe Rashab. Together they come to the booth of Kaiser Wilhelm. There are two guards that are standing there, but he had already worked it out with them. They don't say anything. They let the Rebbe Rashab go in with the Friediger Rebbe into the German Kaiser's room, and there is a table with paper and ink, and there is a chair, a really, really Kaiser chair, not a throne, but a very comfortable kind of a chair. And the Rebbe Rashab sits himself down on the chair, and he says, "Akluge benko." This is a wise chair. The Rebbe Rashab takes the quill, and he started writing chassidus on the paper that was over there. He wrote some chassidus. The Rebbe Rashab wanted to sit on Kaiser Wilhelm's throne. Why? This is Malchus Beis Betzalel. This is true kingdom, and really all the thrones belong to our Rabbi. Temporarily, it is on loan to all the other kings. The Rebbe Rashab sat down. So the Friediger Rebbe sits down on George Washington's chair, and he does what he gives and he benches America. Fine. Now let's stop for one moment. Before the Friediger Rebbe came, he notified in America that they invited him. It took a few months to prepare for the trip. The Friediger Rebbe during that time went to Eretz Yisrael. Again, he wants to come to America. He organizes a trip to America, but it doesn't happen immediately. It's delayed for a few months. Meanwhile, for the first time in Chabad history, one of our Chabad Rabbeim traveled to Eretz Yisrael. Why did the Friediger Rebbe go to Eretz Yisrael? So people would think, why not? Where then? Till then, the Rabbeim didn't. The Alter Rebbe wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael so badly with the Mendele Haredaker, then it didn't work. Now there's an opportunity. Anyway, can't be in Russia. Go to Eretz Yisrael. Friediger Rebbe says, no, he's not going to Eretz Yisrael because of the importance of going to Eretz Yisrael. He simply wants to daven by Kivrei Avis. He wants to go to the Oyalim. He wants to go to the oil of the Rabbeim, to the Alter Rebbe in Hadish, to the Mittler Rebbe in Yezhin, and to the Rabbeim in Lubavitch. he can't go to the oil because the Frierdiker Rebbe couldn't go into Russia. He couldn't go there. So because he can't daven by Kivrei Avis, he went to the Avis. He went to Hebron, to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He went to Ma'arsam. He went to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and Maron. And he went to all the tzaddikim in Eretz Yisrael as going to daven. So I'm wondering, comes out that his whole, but why is he suddenly davening now? Why suddenly now the Frierdiker Rebbe has to go daven? You would expect that if he had to go daven, he should have gone before 1927. When he was fighting the Bolsheviks, before he was arrested. That's when he needed Rachmi Shamayim, and we know that Rebbeim knew what was happening. He can sense already the pressure. You say he didn't have time. If he needed to go, if this is Sakanas Nefashis, let him go earlier to the Rebbeim. No, he doesn't go then. Now he has to go. Why does he have to go now? So again, this is only Das Tachten, this is my own thoughts. A new Avodah is about to begin. We need to now come to phase 2 of the exile, which is really cleaning up right before Mashiach comes. We have to rectify America. And through America, we're going to rectify the entire world. So the Frierdiker Rebbe goes to fill himself up with koiches so that he can come to America and conquer America, and through America, the entire world. The Olu Moishiyim Bahar Tziyim. Hear the pasuk. The Olu Moishiyim. Those that were saved. Who are those that are saved? Who was saved? The Frierdiker Rebbe was saved from who? From Esav. Esav, in all of his brutality, wanted to choke Chas v'Shalom, the Frierdiker Rebbe. They had him in Kastrama. They had him there. They wanted to, or they had him in Shpalerka. They wanted to Chas v'Shalom destroy him. The Olu Moishiyim, the Frierdiker Rebbe went up. Where does he go first? He goes up Bahar Tzion. He goes to Eretz Yisrael. But what's the kavanah of going to Eretz Yisrael? Lishbait, in order to judge what? The mountain of Esav. What's the mountain of Esav? The mountain of Esav is elevated Esav. What's elevated in all of history? Where is Esav in its most elevated state? Esav in its most elevated state is America. America are Gentiles from European descendants. These are the grandchildren of Esav. But yet Esav, as a Medina of chesed, of kindness, Esav as he's been refined, as the Frierdiker Rebbe is speaking about the greatness of the United States, how the Rebbe, that's called the mountain of Esav. And may I remind you another Nakuda, which I heard today from Shai Eichenblatt when I told him this thing. He said America is called, and politicians always used it, the city on the hill. Har Esav, why? It was used by John F. Kennedy to speak about how America is supposed to be a light onto the nations because it's a city on the hill. Har Esav, the mountain of Esav. It's an elevated place. Mountain is also means chesed. Avram is called Har, mountain. So the Frierdiker Rebbe went to where? The Olu Moishiyim, those that were saved, went from where? He went up Lahar Tzion with the kavanah of what? Lishboit, to judge. What's judging? The Alter Rebbe says judging means we have a nefesh l'kis and a nefesh l'bahamas, and judging means to give us direction, to give us inspiration. The nefesh l'kis judges us. The Frierdiker Rebbe is going to give inspiration to Esav. The Rebbe is going to give inspiration to Esav and complete the work in Esav. What does the Frierdiker Rebbe Dafke do? Sits down on George Washington's chair and blesses America and makes a declaration. And he says as follows. Here is declaration. He says, a nation if freedom is based on faith and on religion, that is the true freedom. Very beautiful, unbelievable pasuk. I think it's referring to the Frierdiker Rebbe. I'm almost sure this is what the pasuk is saying. This is the Rebbe who completes the Zion Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, completes rectifying the world Gevaldik. But where are we holding? Where are we holding? So let me just conclude one interesting thing. I heard a speech, again through WhatsApp, but this one came to me from my father. And again, as I mentioned, what was the speech? President Trump gave a speech 3 days ago on 4th of July. And on that day, he's speaking in America and he's saying, we love our country, we love our people, we love our freedom, and we love our God. Then he continues to talk that from the time of the Declaration of the Independence, it has been clear that our rights come to us from our Creator. And no force, no earthly force can take away those rights that are given to us from our Creator. And he goes on for a half an hour. And he doesn't stop mentioning God and the Eibishter and giving us and all our rights and everything and freedom and the like. I didn't listen to the whole half an hour. But my father told me, you got to listen to the rest. I didn't listen. Just that itself. And he doesn't stop. And here is where I would like to share something with you, because I think people are not getting it. We're not watching the Geula unfolding in front of our eyes. Unbelievable. This country over here that the Rebbe spoke so much about, the Rebbe always spoke about, this is a Malchus of Chesed, and that the people that came here, the immigrants, came here because freedom to practice religion, not a freedom from religion. This country was hijacked a couple of years ago. And in the previous administration, there was a powerful movement of someone who believed that he is Mashiach to the world, but Mashiach without the Eibishter. It was driving a global movement. And that global movement, because why Dafka now? Again, these are only my thoughts, Das Tachten. But the Rebbe told us to open up our eyes and to see something. It's clear to me that, interesting, before Mashiach comes, and there's going to be peace in the entire world, Klipa Koidma Leperi, so Klipa comes and tries to create an imitation of Mashiach before. In other words, we don't need the real Mashiach, we can do it on our own. So nations are going to live in peace and in harmony. We're all global movement. There was this tremendous global movement happening in the world. But let's understand something. At the root of this movement was a war against four things. First of all, it was based on the three Averis that a person has to give his life for. It was fighting, and part of its primary agenda was the total destruction of marriage in this world. And where there's no sanctity to marriage at all, you can marry a chicken, a cow, or whatever you like. Even a tomato. There is absolutely whatever you want. You don't even have to be. You can be whatever you want. You don't even know. You get so confused. I'm telling you, if you get a little old, and you don't even know who you are when you're trying to go into a bathroom. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm somewhere in between. They've been here. And this is culture, and this is sophistication, and this is refinement, and this is Mashiach the world, the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is mamish, and this is taught to little children in kindergarten. This is a war. The Gemara says in Masechtas Ksubas, the Gemara says that even though nations of the world are chashud for certain things, but they don't write en kaizik ksuba l'zachar. They don't when they marry a man with a man, they don't write ksuba, which means they don't go under a chuppah. And that's their merit to be alive. The merit that the nations of the world have, ein kaisvin ksuba. They don't write a ksuba. They won't make it holy. They won't turn it into legitimate. And if you have belief, and you don't want to bake a cake for that wedding, we are going to arrest you. We're going to close down your business. This is a war. This is Mamish creating the biggest corruption in the world. Then comes total disregard to human life. You can butcher as many babies as you want unborn according to halacha. These children have halacha. And this is according to Shavin and he's chayiv misa for this. And abortion is totally permitted because it's a woman's right to choose. Shvichas Dam is the second Indian. Third Indian. What's the story with global warming? And I'm not I saw from the Farbrengen Rebbe. The Farbrengen Rebbe says that one time the Rebbe Rishab was sitting and was weeping during davening, crying. The Razah, the Rebbe's brother, said, "Was veinter." He said it, I think, to the Farbrengen Rebbe. What is he crying? Let me tell you what he's crying. The Rebbe Rishab never ever killed a fly. He never killed. You know the famous story where he chastised the Farbrengen Rebbe for pulling a leaf off and ruining it. The Rebbe Rishab didn't kill anything. If anything, he blew something away. And then, maybe by accident, he killed a little ant, and for that the Rebbe is weeping. The Rebbe Rishab is weeping. That's what the Rebbe's brother said. Rabbi Zalman Aaron said about the Rebbe Rishab. Chassidus teaches us respect and being bal tashchis, especially when you know that the. So the idea of being careful not to destroy the world is probably a good thing and a thing that humans should be sensitive of. In many ways, you can say it's Moshiachtig, the sensitivity to the world and to the like. Good Zach. But let's for one moment make a little. Why was it so much in the agenda of this whole previous administration drive? Why was it at the root of the agenda? Now he'll remind us. Let's rewind a little bit in time. Let's rewind a little bit. Right after the Mabul, there was the people in the world, a global movement, Paris Accord, for the entire world. What was it called? The Paris Accord, in which they all got together and decided to build a tower. Why? So Rashi says they said once every 1600 years the sky collapses. So we have to build something to hold up the sky. In other words, there's no Eibishter. You see, the Eibishter brought a Mabul and that's why it collapsed. But there is no God. We men are going to deal with the future of the world. It's a denial in the Eibishter. How do you know that this is really what it's all about? Is because when it comes to the deepest Nekuda, that global movement that's in all the colleges and all across the world, in Europe especially, but in America as well, and filled in the American media as well, its main objective and Nekuda Pnimis was to fight against the Yishuv of Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, against Shleimus Haaretz, and to force with a full sense of sensitivity. And I read Chumash this week, when Balak took Bilam up to a place. Where did he bring him first? He brought him to a mountain, and he brought him to a Kiryas Chutzais. Rashi says it's a place full of markets where hundreds of people, and he said, you see these women and children? Let's have mercy for these women and children. A lie! The Jewish people weren't doing anything to Moab. They weren't coming to harm their women and their children. Babemaisis. But Balak is already doing this propaganda and telling Bilam, don't harm the Jewish people. Want to kill women and children, baby killers. And don't you hear that? So created in the world such a clip as if the Tzahal, the Jewish, so sensitive, are the people that are out to kill and to murder children and the like. And the most important thing is anything to keep a two-state solution. That became mamish aseres adibris, anoichi v'lo yirecha. The most important precept in the world is a two-state solution. Why? Because the one thing you don't want, if you're the Mashiach Sheker, if you're the force to hold back Mashiach, the one thing you don't want is the Eibishter to come down on that mountain and the third Beis Hamikdash to be rebuilt, because that's going to destroy all the Klippa. So by hook and by crook, we're going to stop that. What was the last action the previous administration did? The last action the previous administration did was to legitimize that in the UN, to allow that Mamzeres, whoever she was in the UN, to actually go ahead and abstain. And then it would have led, then next was the 70 nations gathering in Paris again to do what? To condemn Israel and to come up with the two-state solution. So you see the Klippa is there and all of its grobkai, taking away, and a war against religion. That's what it really was. Or war against people of faith. Is Geshen something this year that is unbelievable, unheard of. The entire country's minds are still spinning. They don't know why and how and where this could have happened. Suddenly, a candidate who had absolutely no reason to win, no ability to win, not a politician, someone totally an outsider, is gekommen, and suddenly he became president and no one knows how. It is such a crazy thing. And was er geworden? And Dafkin in the Yonim of the Rebbe, Dafke in Shleimus, okay, not perfect yet, because we're lacking in our confidence, so he's a little wobbly, but Dafke in all these aspects, he's standing and fighting. And not only that, he's crushing and breaking the monstrous lie. He made it his Inyan to destroy this power that has thumped people's heads with lies for all these years. You realize evil doesn't start when terrorists are stabbing people. It starts when you legitimize all of that and you create that people who defend innocent life are murderers. When you take evil and you make it whatever, that's where it begins. So the media is actually the culprit and he's breaking it. And who did it? Who did this? Who put President Trump in power? Doesn't make any sense what happened. But the interesting thing is, it's clear. 2 days before the election, his daughter, his son-in-law, went to the Rebbe. It was videoed, publicized in the entire world, davened openly, and it was there for that he should win the election. Just like 2-3 years ago, the racing horse who won the Triple Crown, the jockey went to the Rebbe, and he davened, the Goyish jockey went to the Rebbe, and he won the Triple Crown. So they went there and they davened and they won. And then hat sich gemacht a modne Meise. But hear this. They're trying, Apiteva doesn't make any sense. So you realize someone must have meddled in the elections. Who meddled in the elections? Back and forth, they still don't know what to do. And they came up with an amazing hamtzah. The Russians meddled in the elections. The Russians are the ones who did it because Apiteva. And they're absolutely right. The Russians are the Friediger Rebbe and the Rebbe who came over here and said, you are not going to take this country and the whole world with it and chas v'shalom bury us in a place of klipa. V'hoya Hashem l'melech al kol haaretz, I'm going to put my man in there. And interesting, he's there, and again, it's nothing about him because he's not Roel Malchus at all. It's the Rebbe through him. Unbelievable. So when we look at the last 23 years, and we're looking at all this time, and we're correcting, and we're saying, those then, we have to realize that the Malchus of Mashiach is taking place in front of our eyes. Even though, with all the it's happening. It's B'poyel Mamish happening. And we have to just open our eyes and realize there's great godly things taking place. But it involves a deep avodah on our part. I hope I can, if I bring a little more, to hopefully share with you what I think the deep avodah is for all of us, but this at least gives us a little bit perspective and understanding the great geula of Yud Bais and Yud Gimel Tamuz. How this is the story of everything, the story of the world, the story of all that's going on right now, not way back then. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. We should be chassidim, and we should merit the isgalus of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Take it from Miyad Mamish now. Avram Avinu. Men is Yitzchak. The Etzamta Mimen. Leich Men. Also, the Medrash. There's a Rishima from the Rebbe on each one of them. Oisis Kfulis, Allah Hashem Agiyul. Nun is Yaakov, Hatzileni no. There's also 2 nuns. Pei is Pokot Bakadati. Tzadik is Tzemach Tzemach.
Well, those have to be the first letter. That's a double letter.
But by Mitzrayim and by the Gula Asid, it's the first letters. It's Tzemach Tzemach and Pokot Bakadati. The Indian of all the Mashiach are scenes. The Mashiach. Never do a bitter. Not Asa. Think so. That's the same.
And I was in New York now for Gimel Tamuz. So I, Baruch Hashem, managed, right before I left, to instruct my son about how to prepare for a trip. The first thing you have to do is to put your tefillin in your suitcase. You might not keep your tefillin in your suitcase, but the first step of traveling is to put your tefillin in your suitcase. So Baruch Hashem, I told my son to do this, and as I told him to do this, I somehow left my tefillin outside my suitcase, and I went to New York without my tefillin, and I met a Jew in 770, and I asked him if he could use his tefillin. These tefillin belong to Rabbi Mentlik Ol V'Shol. Rabbi Mentlik was very, very close to the Rebbe, and he was the one who was Rosh Hashiva in 770. I had to use his tefillin. Anyways, so Rabbi Mentlik always began at Farbrengen with reading the Hayom Yom. So today's Hayom Yom, as Ray Wolf and I were speaking this today, Ray Wolf, it wasn't through WhatsApp. Ruf is going to get to the punch line of the Farbrengen of what we have to do. So I think it's connected to the Hayom Yom today. Yom Chamishi, Beis Taamuz, Chag HaGeula, Einem Tachem. Days Beis Taamuz, the Chag of Geula. We don't say Tachem. Today the Friedrich was born in Tafresh Mem, and then he was told, Tafresh Bezayin, that he's free from imprisonment, and he was free from his exile after being in prison, for his avodah, for his service of strengthening Torah and Yiddishkeit. From a letter of the Rebbe Shlita. In these 2 days of Geula, of Beis and Gimel Taamuz, which are coming upon us for good, Chasidim should Farbrengen, for blessing, for goodness and for blessing, both materially and spiritually, the way it was set up by our first father, by the Alter Rebbe. In this Farbrengen, Chasidim should talk with each other, with sitting like brothers, to strengthen the set times they have to study, and I send my blessing that God should shine His face upon them, begashmi yasuv. So the Rebbe is saying Hayom Yom today that the Friedrich Rebbe is asking us not just that we should talk about all wonderful things, but should be in the way that brings us some kind of practical result in our learning. And we should, for bringing in a way of Avos Yisrael, really get together. And this is just an intro for Rabbi Wolf, whose Baruch Hashem was ready? Okay. Rabbi Wolf.
Now he's laughing because I'm a Polish. I take a little l'chaim and I'm ganzen. Can handle it. Ay. So, in truth, the emes is that everything I said till now was really just a warm-up to one nekuda that I wanted to bring about.
Rabbi Wolf said whatever he said till now was a warm-up of what he wants to say now. So if you haven't yet heard anything, now's the time to join us.
It helps when we can lift ourselves up. It helps when we can see glows, when we can lift ourselves up a little bit. We get a little bit of a bird's eye view. And it gives inspiration. The Poyal Mamish should be, as you say, the buck stops here. The work is really our work. And I'd like to share with you what I think perhaps we can all invigorate ourselves, strengthen ourselves, and to really, what we say, get with the program. I do want to say one thing. I called Rabbi Levin last week, and I said that we have to make a Yud Beis Tamuz Farbrengen. You organize the Farbrengen, I'm going to come speak. The problem with doing that is that I can't charge it. The reason why I did that is because I went to the Rebbe on Yud Beis Tamuz, and I was flown into New York to speak for the women in Sheikh Chabad Crown Heights, Gimel Taamuz. I spoke in Gimel Taamuz for the women, Crown Heights, and then I went to the oil, and I had my bakashas, and I told the Rebbe that I'm going to make a chodaram. I didn't say this word. I said I'm going to make a shturim on Yud Beis Tamuz. I made a promise. I got a very interesting bracha when I came back. When I came back to the shul, it's almost like the Rebbe faxed me a letter back to. He didn't answer me over there, but when I got back to my place, I walk in and I see one of the Rebbe's letters. Not the Rebbe's, one of the figures on top of the shelf, and I open it up, and there's a letter from Yud Aleph Tamuz, and the Rebbe writes to someone over there that it is known the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov that Kain Tzamaloch Nafshi Kain Ba'Kodesh Chazi Sicha, that David HaMelech says that when I was wandering and being chased away from my house, I had longing for you. I wish that when I'm close to you, I should also have that longing. So the Rebbe is bringing out that a lot of times people do much better when they're in a place of hardship. But when things get easy, then they don't have that challenge, so they don't have that Mesiris Nefesh. They don't have that drive. So the Rebbe, there's a Yid who was in Russia, and the Rebbe says, when you were in Russia, it was such avodah with Mesiris Nefesh and this. And I understand the Rebbe says that the Baal Shem Tov says, Kein b'kodesh chazi sicha, that there is such a thing. But to be so, the Rebbe doesn't use those words, but to be so, now that you're in a state where you can do so much more, and to be so out of it. And the Rebbe writes to him, when you could be Makarev, hundreds of thousands of people to Chassidus, and you're sitting and you're not doing that avodah. And the Rebbe says, Halavai, that as a result of your Yud Beis Taamuz, through Yud Beis Taamuz Farbrengen and the Chag HaGeula, and through, it should be Mamshich Nisim in your avodah, of doing what? Of reaching hundreds of thousands in Afatzas HaMayanis. Doesn't say anything about Afatzas HaYahados. Usually the Rebbe, and I saw that was to me, and the Rebbe is highlighting Baal Shem Tov the whole time, because it's a Baal Shem Tov place. Interesting. And only the order of the day to me. But why did I call the Chatchila? And why did I tell the Rebbe that I want to do a Farbrengen Yud Beis Taamuz? Besides that I was asking the Rebbe for some bakashas, and the Rebbe always demands a deposit. You know, he wants something from you so that it should be a keli to be able to be mamshech the deposits. I have to admit that my life changed 2 weeks ago. What happened? I've been giving some shiurim about Rabbi Pe'er over here. And one day, 2 weeks ago, when I was at a shul, I saw a sefer laying, a big black sefer. And being that I'm a little fakacht in Mashiach, and this is a black sefer called In Yonoi Shel Mashiach. I picked it up with excitement. I started looking through it. And I told Rabbi Pe'er, I'm taking this from you. I said, where do you get it? Ich nehm dem sefer. I'm taking the sefer. So he said, okay, bring it back in a week. Allah and Kop, you're not getting that sefer back. That I can tell you. You really should get it back because I finished it. I have 2 more chapters left. I canceled all my chassidus. I canceled all my shiurim. A few weeks ago I decided that I'm already 45 years old. In Slobodka I used to learn Nigla. I used to learn. In the last 28 years, I haven't opened the Gemara really. I haven't been learning. I'm doing chassidus. I'm all caught up. What's going to be with me? I grew up young. I'm not learning any Nigla. So 2 months ago I decided, I'm going to start Shulchan Aruch from the beginning, Tur Beis Yosef. I'm going to start. So I started learning. Every morning I get up, I'm learning the Tur, and the Beis Yosef, and the Bach. Mamsha Yetzirah went into my head. Sma and Bach, everything on the page. And then Shulchan Aruch. And everything is good until you get to Prima Gadol. The Prima Gadol, I'm sorry, I hope he doesn't have this, is such a drei cup, meaning there is such draying and twisting of the mind that you forget even where your head is spinning, trying to figure it out. And I'm learning Shulchan Aruch. It worked very well until I got into Hilchos Beis HaKisei. Then I was sitting there, and for 3 weeks, instead of learning Chassidus before davening, I decided to learn Nigla. So I was happy that I found this safe, because I said, okay, put that to the side a little bit. I need to gobble this up. I want to tell you, it's a man, his name is Wolf, Shalom Deutber, I think, Wolf, from Tzvas. I've never seen a sefer that took, I will call it Mesechtes Moshiach. He took all the sichos from the Rebbe, all the hadronim, all the sichos and Likutei Sichos, and the Rambam, and the Geras HaTeimon, and Pirush HaMishnayos to the Rambam. He lays it out for you in such a clear way, and it's not like he's trying to prove a point. It's not like he's trying to put it in your face, this and that. Just such a developed part, piece by piece, explaining what Mashiach is, what's its inyan, and developing it. The man is a baki in every sikha and in every ha'ara from the Rebbe. It's brilliant. His insights are brilliant. And it's not just quoting. He takes you through it, and he builds. And it woke up in me something so deep, it put me into such a different place. To the point where, for the first time, I've seen someone doing justice to what the Rebbe said. You should learn in Yom Gevula Mashiach and live with Mashiach. And I'm so excited about it. And there's so much to say and so much to share that I feel that every chassid should learn that sefer. It's not in English, but if you're able to get a hold of it and study it, mamish, it's an eye opener. It's an invigoration. It's an enlightenment. And it changed my Yiddishkeit. It changed me pashut in my daily life. Things that I was kind of lazy in, and I would say, I can go to sleep without finishing this. I didn't finish my Rambam, so I didn't do this. I can do this. And now, when Mashiach became so real to me, it's only 2 weeks, but at least I feel like I can't just, and the hergish is, it's like, it's a merida b'malchus. It's a whole different story. There's a melech. This is real. Mashiach is emes in the world. And how can you not do what the Rebbe wants? How can you not do? It's such a powerful, and it's so real. And I realized that Rebbe said, you'll learn the inyanim. Now what I want to do, once I've learned through the whole Sefer, I'm almost finished, but there's 2 chapters left. I'd like to go back and study all the sichos. And now, because he gave, like when you're learning piece by piece, you don't get the whole picture. He did such an amazing. Out of that inspiration, I said I would love to Farbrengen and at least share some of the thoughts, some of the ideas. And so, based on that, I just want to share one akud. And we spoke earlier in a good Beis Taamuz. It's time for us to make a serious cheshbon nefesh on our discussions with our Rebbe, and on us doing what the Rebbe wanted of us to do. And the Rebbe wanted us to be in overdrive, clear. The Rebbe put us into overdrive, into in total madness about, and determined. And the Rebbe spoke again and again and again how now it's the avoid of every single yid to live and kochsich in the Geula Shalema every second, to breathe Mashiach, to live Mashiach, and every pa'ula in his life, men, women, and children should be completely consumed with Mashiach. And obviously we ask ourselves, am I there? Am I doing this? Am I living with this Iran? Am I living in this place? To make matters worse, I was always on the borderline. There's a certain radical inside of me that was always a Mashiach-driven person. But Mitzat Sheni, there's so much that I couldn't make sense of, so much that disturbed. So I was always like very, 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 very on no, kind of like in and out on the borderline. Yeah. And it's interesting that when you learn and you learn and learn, it's like, So but I see, and really, it's something a matter. And even before I learned the Sefer, this Indian pained me very much. It pained me. What happened? What pained me? It pained me very much that looking around, I feel that Chabad Chassidim have kind of cooled off in our enthusiasm. I'm not necessarily talking about extreme messianism, screaming Yechi and all of that. I'm in a different place now that I learned to Sefer than I was 2 weeks ago. I will say that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, however, about the drive, the enthusiasm, and the belief that Lubavitch and the Rebbe, the Inyan is Moshiach. That we're Chabad and Rebbe and Chassidus is translating is in Moshiach. And what happened to Lubavitch, to many, I don't want to complain, but I'm saying, and I sense it very much, is that because people have questions and because people can't deal with the last 2 years of Sichos. So what we kind of did was we've created this Rebbe that kind of is an inspiration of the end of Golos, post-Holocaust renaissance of Judaism. Anaya Rebbe. Post-Holocaust renaissance of Judaism. A man with great vision. A man with great ideas. And then we created this new word that I can't even repeat from my mouth called a legacy of the Lubavitch Rebbe. And this is posted all over in Chabad houses and in places. And people, sophisticated people, give speeches all about the legacy and shmegacy. I can say one thing. You guys were born in it. I did not join this for a legacy and a shmegacy. This is not what took my nishon. I came to Lubavitch because in the Rebbe I found and I saw, and it was clear, like it's clear she'ein kamoyu, that here is where we are going to the Giyula and Moshiach Tzidkeinu. This is clear. And Lubavitch, Shtaka and I were not just a beautiful, warm, Avas Yisrael, beautiful inspiration group that reaches Jews all over. That's not who we are. And then people, you know what? The Lubavitcher Rebbe, because of his love for the Jewish people, and because of this, also was driven for Mashiach. And then what happened? Something happened the last 2 years. Kind of, he went into overdrive. It was like, oh, this. So we don't really. And then you read the books of people. People don't like to dwell on that 2 years because people are uncomfortable with what was going on over there. And then at the end, what happened? It didn't work. The Rebbe could have, he would have, almost. We should have. We got there, got us very close, but it didn't work. It didn't work. And therefore, more than anything else, because no one likes to be looked at as an idiot, because no one likes to be looked at as a fool, because no one likes to be seen by other people that you're a total lunatic and you're a meshuggah. Everybody has a certain what's called kavod atzmi. A person wants to have a certain respect in it. The first question you have when you sit down with anybody who is not a Lubavitcher and they talk to you, they want to know the first thing. So what? Do you believe the Rebbe's Mashiach? That's the question. Do you believe? Do you believe he's still alive? Do you believe in him? And here passt dich nicht. Ich dich sein am Meshuggah und ich sein am Zedreiter. Kenn ich dich nicht. So I want to protect myself. Not everybody in Lubavitch. Some in Lubavitch, some people leave it in their hearts. So this and that. Yeah, no. And what? And to further legitimize this idea, this chas v'shalom tzedreita idea, which I'm going to try to explain to you how tzedreita is, and how totally mufrach it is, to further legitimize, people took the very sikha from the Rebbe, which is Chav Ches Nisan sikha, where the Rebbe spoke to us and poured his soul out to us, and told us that he did whatever he can. And the Rebbe basically said, Bosmer Kanatan, everything that I've done didn't materialize, didn't bring to the Giyulah. Therefore, so to speak, I can't do anything more. I'm giving over the Indian to you. So now, once the Rebbe, till then, the Rebbe was going to bring Mashiach. But once the Rebbe is not bringing Mashiach anymore, because for whatever reason he realized that it's not that he couldn't do it. Chas v'shalom, I don't know. So what now? He gave it over to us. Not such a good choice, because we are a bunch of shlamazlich. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. Farfutched. Lubavitch getting the Chas v'shalom, it's over. Thus then, we are inspired with legacy and shnegacy, and we have energy, and the Rebbe is living on in us, and we reach the Jews, and so on and so forth. In Vaz, wie wenn etwas am Mashiach hat sich auskriechen dort and coming from the Himalayas with sandals, someone out of nowhere, and this is the Yahweh the Melech, Beis David that we're speaking about, that's going to invigorate the Jewish people, and Yaakov Kol Yisrael, and reach the whole world, and bring refinement to the nations, and the like. Is someone going to come, tzatz epis v'neged from who knows where? And that's what it is. When? I don't know. So I'm not talking about this nekuda of a yellow flag and a pin. That's not my image. What I am talking about is even if one is uncomfortable with the identity, we're uncomfortable with identity. Yeah, no. Deep inside our heart, everybody knows we have a struggle with it. No one is comfortable. There's very few people that will get up and say, everybody, at least Medei Suffolk, it didn't go out. From even the most, so to speak, rational, logical Lubavitchers, that it's someone, people are, there is a sense by every chassid deep in the heart that it's, however, but even if you're not comfortable in living with it, but at least the drive and the understanding that Chassidus is Moshiach, and Chabad has to translate into the Giyulah Shalema, and that this Indian Chas v'Shalom was not aborted. That's the Indian. It was a try and did not Chas v'Shalom get aborted, because here's the Indian. If you take this Indian and you take it out from the Rebbe, if you take Moshiach and the drive and the determination and the entire focus of Mashiach and take it out of the Rebbe, then it's not like you're erasing 2 years of Sichas. You're literally taking the neshama out of Chassidus from the beginning. And this Inyan, it comes to the world more and more, and the Alter Rebbe, and 7 generations, and Basi Ligani, and you need the Sashchina Lamata Ba'aretz, here in the world, and Vahu Yigaleinu, all the way, like I spoke earlier. I mean, you can't. This is Chas Shalom, like Reform, that want to take certain parts of the Siddur and erase it. You pull out this, because you run out this, you pull out this. Oh, this is not an Akudah. This is not a point. This is what our Rebbe lived for, breathed for. This is the energy of all the Sichas and all the Mamarim. That was the Nekuda. And in the last years, this became Mamish. The entire drive of the Lubavitcher Rebbe and all of the Hasidim was Mamish this. However, it's not a Kash. We have a Kash of 23 years. 100%. But when we learn the Sichas, we learn the Nekuda, then the kasha doesn't become such a big kasha. It becomes an annoyance and something that bothers. But it's not that it's why. I'd like to take for a moment a sikha of that sikha of the famous Chav Ches Sichas. And I'd like to read a few lines and try to perhaps give some kind of an explanation of Lefi Aniyas Daiti, not Lefi Aniyas Daiti. Actually, I'm reading as I read, and this person's interpretation, but it's not just an interpretation. It's such amkus, and it's such something, and it's obviously so clearly when you look around in the sikhs, you see something very, very, very strong. In that famous sikha, when the Rebbe stood before us and he shook Lubavitch up to the court, the Rebbe said like this. The Rebbe spoke about at the end of Chodesh Nisan and Tafshin Nun, and it's the highest time for the Geula. First the Rebbe built how this is Mamish Shaya Geula, this is the time Mashiach has to come. Then the Rebbe says, based on all of this, to me, Achi Gedoyla, there becomes the biggest question. What's the question? How's it possible? Shemebeli Habeit Al Kol Enyanim, that not looking, notwithstanding all the Enyanim that happened, Adayin Loi Pa'alu Bias Mashiach Tzidkeinu, we still did not bring about the coming of Mashiach in actuality. Davar she'ena moving klal klal. The Rebbe is so bothered, and the Rebbe says it's something that is completely not understood. It's something that is completely not understood. How it's possible that Mashiach didn't come. And then the Rebbe continues. How is it possible that 10 Jews are gathered together, and such a zman, and such an opportune time, and they're not marishim, they don't tumul and turn over the world for what? And it's not upgefrekt by them that chas v'shalom Mashiach shouldn't come tonight. And tomorrow Mashiach shouldn't come and the like. And even when you cry out Masai, the Rebbe says it's not with an emes. It's because I'm commanding you, I'm asking you to do so, I'm telling you to do so, but not because this is in the Geyat Sadir. Was noch kann ich tun? What more can I do, the Rebbe said? That all Yidden should cry out the emes of a Pnimius Nasha. Everything that was done till now, after I've done everything, what more can I do? Didn't work. The haraya and the proof is, we're still in Galus. So it's a sign that it didn't work. So here the Rebbe says a stunning statement. And he says, Hadavar Ayachidi, the only thing that I can do, now I'm quoting from the Mugadik Sikha, is give the Inyan over to you. Do everything that's in your power, in manners oiris to tell you b'kelim the tikkun, but do matters, lahavi to bring b'poyel as Mashiach tzidkeinu, take off a meyat mamish. To bring Mashiach mamish now. That's what the Rebbe says. I'm giving it over to you. And then the Rebbe says, I'm just going to conclude, I'm not reading everything. The Rebbe says, here rotzen, that we're going to find, and it'll be amongst you 2 or 3, sheyetaksu etza, that are going to sit and going to deliberate. They're going to deliberate and find Episan Eitzah what to do in order that Mashiach should come. So here's an interesting idea. The Rebbe seems to be saying, I tried, fellows. I did whatever I can. I'm throwing in the towel. I can't do anything more. I did whatever I can. Escape nicht. It didn't work. So I'm giving up, kind of. I'm giving it over to you. If that's the case, the Rebbe's notion is, what else can I do? I'm thinking, what else could I do? Not, if he's saying I'm giving up, finished, the project is over, maybe you guys can do something. Imagine that. I tried as best I can, and you know what? Didn't work, so now, it's not my problem, it's you guys. It's Chevra, you, it's up to you. But the Rebbe doesn't say that. He says, what else can I do to bring Mashiach? Ma'oi, the last thing I can do to bring Mashiach is to give it over to you. Which means there's something that the Rebbe gave over here. Didn't stop say, I can't do what you guys do it. He said, and the proof to that is, the Rebbe didn't like, the Kotzker Rebbe got, for whatever reason, at a certain time in his life, disenchanted or whatever, locked himself in his room, and for 3 years he didn't see him. There were tzaddikim like that. They finished, they had what you might call it some kind of a breakdown or whatever, and they locked themselves in. The Rebbe didn't lock himself in his room afterwards and say, hey, Chavre, come on. The next Shabbos, the Rebbe came in Farbrengen. And not only that, the Sikhs and the Mamorim, and I don't want to say Mamorim, but they became stronger and intenser and more powerful, and the Giluyim, and saying things about Mashiach. Whoa. After the Rebbe just told us that he's giving over the Inyan to us. The other interesting thing is that Rebbe says, in the beginning he says, what should have you done till now? You should have cried with your pneumius of your nefesh. That would have worked. You would have all cried at Masai with an emes, Mashiach would have come. You didn't do that. I'm giving it over to you. But now that Rebbe doesn't say that I'm giving it over to you, now you should scream at Masai. Maybe now, if I give it over to you, then you're going to scream at Masai. Rebbe doesn't say that. Suddenly he says something else. He says, you will sit. And you will come up, maybe there'll be 2 or 3 amongst you who will sit and come up with some kind of an idea of what to do to bring Mashiach. I should find 1 or 2 amongst you that are going to do everything they can to bring Mashiach. It's a modern wash. First of all we have to do is scream, so let's continue. Now, at that moment, everybody should start screaming. I'll do our sign fire thing. With an M. Okay, we did. But what does this mean? The Rebbe is not saying anymore scream now. Now the Rebbe said you have to giving it over to you, and now you have to be metakas eitza, which means figure out what to do. Let me ask you a simple question. The Rebbe didn't come up with the idea, right? He did it. You see, so many times the Rebbe says, I thought, what can it be? Maybe we don't have enough simcha. So the Rebbe said, simcha b'tanos. The Rebbe said, this didn't work. Maybe we didn't print the Tanya yet in Brill. So now we're going to print it in Braille so that the blind people, this will be the last thing. The Rebbe ran out of ideas. The Rebbe is turning to the Groise Chachamim, us. And the Rebbe said, maybe you're going to come up with a brilliant idea, something that I didn't think of. Because you're all, so many of you can think of a better idea. Doesn't make any sense. What kind of idea does the Rebbe want? And what's the idea? We're going to come up with what we're going to do. Something that's not Torah and mitzvahs. What did the Rebbe tell us? Learn more Torah, do more mitzvahs and different. What's this idea that Rebbe says, Sheyataksu Eitza? You're all going to cut together and make up a San Eitza, 2 or 3 people, and this and you bring. So what's the idea? So the idea is, what comes out, it seems to be mashma, from the next sichas that were going on after this, is as follows. The Rebbe at this point says like this. Till now the achrayas, the responsibility to bring Moshiach, is my achrayas. Now, I'm going to give over achrayas to you. And, what does that mean? I'm going to give you responsibility to bring Mashiach, which means I am going to give you also, I'm going to bring you to a place where you can take responsibility to bring Mashiach. What does that mean? What does this mean, to responsibility? In all of Jewish history, we have a mitzvah as Jews. We have a mitzvah of Animanim, the Munah Shalema, the Viyas HaMashiach. We have to believe in the coming of Mashiach. Not only do we have a chiyuv, the Rambam puts that we have to believe in the coming of Mashiach, we have to achakel, we have to wait for Mashiach. But the Rebbe came up with a new Indian that's not in Torah, doesn't say anywhere. And that is 2 things. Number 1, you are responsible to bring Mashiach. Doesn't say anywhere in traditional Judaism that it's our responsibility. There is the general idea, we need to do tshuva. When we will do tshuva, Mashiach will come. But the bringing Mashiach doesn't say anywhere in Yiddishkeit that this is a responsibility for Yidden to bring in Mashiach. Oh, that's a Chassidish Pirush. That's the Pirush that Rebbe is speaking about after that time. Mashiach means that even Yemois Mashiach we will say, that's a simple thing. This Kol Yemechel L'Havi Yemois Mashiach is the Rebbe's. It's a Chassidish Pirush that said already years ago, and the Rebbe actually picked started using that term, and right after Chav Ches Nisan, the Rebbe started talking again and again and again and again about this drive of Kol Yemei Chayach Elohim Shech. And this idea of Lataki's Eitzah, that we have to come up with ideas and things to bring Mashiach. Al Pi Pashtus, it doesn't seem in Yiddishkeit that there's some kind of a basis for that idea. And here, let me just share with you a thought, and a very, very, very important idea. I discussed earlier in the Farbrengen how Yiddishkeit evolves with the process of Pnimius HaTorah, with the process of the inner aspect of Yiddishkeit. We find Yiddishkeit getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Let me just simply say, before the Baal Shem Tov, and I shouldn't say way before the Baal Shem Tov, but at least 100 or 200 years previous to the Baal Shem Tov, the Chlal Yidden, Yiddishkeit by many, many Jews became a very physical kind of thing. What I mean physical, it became a very yeshus thing. In other words, it was not Yiddishkeit mitzad haneshama, it was Yiddishkeit coming from Nefesh HaBahamas, which sadly people who don't learn Chassidus today and therefore are not in touch with the reinkeit of the neshama, the selflessness of the neshama. The neshama Yiddishkeit also is very much a exercise of becoming a very good person, or going to Gan Eden, or getting a big Olam Haba, and so on and so forth, which is very coarse. It's just simply grub. It's not edel. Chassidus introduces neshama. Neshama is in a relationship with the Eibush. It's already from the Baal Shem Tov brought it. That's why the Ahmadiyya publishers were so nervous that I was talking about giving the Eibush their Nachas Ruach. To them, being a Jew is so... I'll have to share with you a story. One of the big rabbi in this community, I went to his... I used to teach when I taught him Torah 7, his son was in my class, and it was his son's bar mitzvah. So I was by the bar mitzvah. And the father spoke by the bar mitzvah. And I remember till today. He said to his son, he said, boy's name, and he said, I want you to, don't you think for one moment in your life that the Eibishter needs your Torah and your mitzvahs and your stuff? You're not going to make or break the Eibishter's days, whether you're going to learn or daven or excel or do your Yiddishkeit. Nor than everything you're doing for yourself. Do it so that you will have something. You will grow. Don't think you're doing God a favor. God doesn't need it. It's a doctor. He said the minor. He said the minor by. He said the bar mitzvah minor. He didn't know. He didn't say doctor. So he's telling this message to the kid that he thought that basically everything you're doing is for your own self, so that you should shtay and you should become a lamb and you should. Obviously, this kid he's a deeper boy. Of all my students in Torah 7, he's the one who's always coming to Mayim. He's learning Chassidus. He's got married. And he did this thing. My son's bar mitzvah, I read it. And I called out to my son, I said, Heshi, you should know that when you're putting on tefillin, you should know you are making the Eibishter's day when you're putting on tefillin. And you're making the Eibishter so happy, and you're learning this has nothing to do with you, this is mom, whatever. Yeah. So Chassidus brought us to that place of the relationship. It was Megala, the fun. But in Chassidus itself, when you look within the advance of Chassidus, it became more and more clear what the purpose is. As I mentioned earlier, until the Alter Rebbe, everybody thought the purpose is heaven, spiritual things. The Alter Rebbe came, the Baal Shem Tov did it already in essence, when the Baal Shem Tov taught Ivdu as Hashem, Kol Masech Hashem Shammai, and put a big emphasis on it. But it wasn't in a philosophy. It wasn't really developed. The Alter Rebbe gave words to this idea that the Iker Inyan is to be Megala Lukus Lamata. The Savak Kadosh Baruch Hu leads Ladin L'Tachtay. So he gave us a picture. He gave us a vision. He gave us what the purpose is. Right? And then as time developed, we got a clearer picture and a better understanding. And the Rebbe Rashab again took it to a different level. And the Rebbe started giving us biyurim and hizbeidim and understanding of the kavanas of Atzmos and giving us such understanding in Golus and Geula. I mean, today, I don't know how you can be a Jew without all these sichas and memorah. The Rebbe literally gave us such understanding and such a mindset and such a rich... We don't even realize as Lubavitchers how fortunate and how lebedik all these inyanim are, and how dead and totally superficial and empty everything is without it. And the Rebbe mamish deeper and deeper and deeper. But here's a very interesting idea. And that is that if you think about the relationship between Yidden and the Eibishter, so in terms of our obligation as a Jew, on the simplest of levels, a Yid keeps Torah and mitzvahs. Mitzad emes, not mitzad what he's taught in yeshiva, that he's learning to steig, and he's learned out. We're talking mitzad emes. Why is a Yid learning Torah and doing mitzvahs? To serve Hashem. Avodei atem, you're my servants. Kabbalah soy malchus shemayim. What does the Alter Rebbe say in Tanya? Reishas avodah v'ikra v'shorsha. The beginning of the avodah and the ikra and the shorish of being a Jew is to be makabel, is to have the yira and so on and so forth, and to be makabel on ourselves. Oil malchus shemayim, to serve the Eibishter like a servant, doing all the service of a servant does to his king. That's the end. That's Kabbalah soy malchus. Then the Alter Rebbe explains. But the Pnimius, on a much deeper level. Really, 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 a Yid, that's the Avodah Mitzat Kabbalah Soil. But then there's a much deeper level in Yidisham. What's the deeper level in Yidisham? Where the Alter Rebbe says every Yid, Nishta vil and Nishta ken zayin opkedis and fenelokos. And inside our Neshama, there's a deeper layer of Neshama. Where we're not doing mitzvahs because we're accepting the Eibishter as a melech, but we're doing mitzvahs because we are a Yid and the Eibishter is verbunden and vereinzigt and unified. And a Yid is willing to go on Mesiras Nefesh. And that, in Chassidus, it's basically explained that that's the idea of Yechidish Nefesh. So what we really have over here, and I want to, if you please hold the cup for a moment, what do we have? We have an Avodah that is the most practical and most daily Avodah of doing things because of what? Because of Oil Malchus Shemayim. Deeper than that, it's this gala that what? That a Jew learns Torah and does mitzvahs because of a deeper ratzon that a Yid has to be makusha with the Eibishter at all costs. Then comes something deeper and something higher. And the Rebbe is going to see in a moment, where the Rebbe reveals that the Pnimius. But Yid, every single Jew, is really one thing with Atzmos Luchos Mamish. What does that mean? Not only does a Yid have a desire to do the Eibishter's Ratzon, because we're connected to the Eibishter, Yechidah with Yachid, but Yidden are miyuchid with the Eibishter on a much deeper level. You have an Etzam Aneshama. And your Etzam Aneshama is one with Atzmos itself, with the Eibishter himself. And therefore, the Eibishter's taiva, that the Eibishter wants to have a dira b'tachtainim, is really the nekuda pnimius that's really in every single Yid. The pnimius nishmascha, what do you want? You want that the Eibishter should have a dira b'tachtainim because be'etzim you and God are one. And God's taiva is really your taiva. Let me explain that just for a moment a little better. And the idea, just briefly, because I think it will all come together in just a couple of moments. Please, if you just give me, I don't want to take Stam Shlep that side over here, Chas v'Shalom. But I think this Nekud is such a reichel Nekud, it's such an enriching, invigorating Nekud. And the idea is like this. Just like we have Koyach HaMaisa, Koyach of action, Koyach which we do. Deeper than that, we have Koyach HaNefesh, which are our Seichel, and our Midos, our intellect and our emotions. Deeper than our intellect and emotions, what's beneath our intellect and our emotions, even deeper in us, is what Chassidus explains, the power of Keser, which is what? Ratzon, drive. For example, a person will only learn and understand, Chazal say, b'makom shali b'chafetz, a place that you desire. That means what's beneath, under our intellect, so that what drives our intellect, what we desire, that's what we study and that's what we learn. Also in our emotions. We love something that we want to love. When there is a desire underneath that love that empowers and invigorates the love, fine. What's deeper than desire? What's deeper than desire? So this explains oinek pleasure. What do you desire? What do you want? You desire things that deep in the very inner core gives you pleasure. And whatever gives you, what is your inner pleasure, that's how you have desire. And when you have desire, that's how your keiches pnimim work, your intellect and your emotions. And then there is your machshava dibur ha'maisa, thought, speech, and action. The same as it is by us, Same as also, see this explains, the Seder Ishtalshus. In the Eibishter too, there is the Eibishter's Malchus, which is power of the Eibishter to actually rule and be actual king over the world. Then there is the Eibishter's intellect and the Eibishter's emotions, which are what? The spheres, the attributes above, which are higher. Pnimius, more pnimius to the level of Elokus. Then there is the Eibishter's Ratzai, where the Eibishter desires. Now let me ask you, why does the Eibishter want these mitzvahs? So Chassidus explains the root of all mitzvahs, even though the mitzvahs are mitzvahs HaMelech, through Malchus, the Eibishter is a king over us, through us doing his mitzvahs. But the Pnimius, we say that the Shorish of all mitzvahs are in Keser, in Ratzah. God has a desire. What's beneath this desire? The Eibishter has a desire in Torah and mitzvahs. What's beneath that desire? Because these desires are really rooted in a much deeper way. The Eibishter has an oinek. The Eibishter has a tainuk. What's the tainuk of the Eibishter? So the Eibishter has a tainuk in Ma'aseh mitzvahs, because Ma'aseh mitzvahs are, through that, will be a dira b'tachtonim. Now here's an amazing thing. When a person, the oineg, the pleasure and the pleasure that you have in something is something that you don't reveal. Ratzon is revealed. Let's take a king and his subjects. For a moment, let's take a king and his subjects. Take a king and his subjects. A king reveals to his subjects what he wants. But he doesn't reveal to the subjects why he wants. He doesn't reveal to the subjects the pleasure that he has in what he wants. He reveals to them what he wants. What is his desire? The oineg remains very personal. The pleasure, the inner delight remains something deep inside the melech. It's not revealed. Okay? Because only the king has that oineg. His subjects are devoted to him. Now, once we understand this structure, there's atzmus, in where there is an oineg and a pleasure. Pnimius atik. Then there is rotzen, where the Eibishter wants a desire for Torah and mitzvahs. He wants them. Why? Because deep inside they give him pleasure. And then, later, as it translates into the world, the Eibishter practically becomes a king, and he commands us to listen. We, on our end, also connect to the Eibishter through these various different levels. When we as a Jew don't feel any ratzon in Torah mitzvahs, but we're just doing Torah mitzvahs because God said so, Hashem, Kabbalah Sarah Malchus Shemayim, because the Eibishter commanded, then on which level are we connecting to the Eibishter? Think about it. On which level are we connecting to the Eibishter? On Malchus. He's our king, we have Kabbalah Sarah Malchus Shemayim, he's the boss we listen to. When a Yid is Megala, his Yechidah Shebenefesh, what's his Yechidah Shebenefesh? In which he has a rotzen, a powerful rotzen, at kedei mesiras nefesh. He's willing, like the Yidden by Beis Taamuz, what the Friedrich Rebbe evoked. The Friedrich Rebbe revealed in Yidden the desire to be connected to the Eibishter at all costs, even of giving up your life. What is that? That's that Chassidim and Yidden, Chassidus revealed the desire, the deepest pintel Yid. What's your pintel Yid? Your pintel Yid is your Yechidah Shebenefesh, that wants the Eibishter. So it connects to what? What does it connect to? It connects our Keser, our Yechidah, connects to the Eibishter's Yechidah, which is the idea of Ratzin, the Eibishter's Ratzin, that the Eibishter wants. But deeper than that Ratzin is the Eibishter's pleasure. Now, the Eibishter's pleasure, we don't have his pleasure, we have our pleasure. We might have desire, but we don't have pleasure. But really, Chassidus explains, and this is when I say the whole Chiddush of the Rebbe in Nun Aleph. In all these sikhs, as we're going to say in a moment, where the Rebbe takes it to a step further, where the Rebbe is really saying as follows, that really in truth, each and every one of us is mushrash, mamish, and atzmus itself. And therefore the essence of you is the essence of the Eibishter. And therefore God's pleasure that the Eibishter has a delight and a pleasure to be a king and have a dira b'tachtonim is really something that you as a Jew should feel, could feel, and need to feel, because this is really your essence. Your essence is God's essence. Essence of the Eibishter is the essence of the Jew. And therefore, let's understand something. The project of Mashiach and having a dira b'tachtonim is not the Eibishter's wish in which all of us need to participate, but rather we as Chassidim, we as Yidden, are shutzvim with the Eibishter in making. What does that mean? Let me explain it. That means You see, let me just try to, I'm trying to get this point. Okay, so just be on. The idea is as follows. You see, as long as all of us, as long as we see, every neshama be'etzem starts off, our neshamas are one thing with the Eibishter himself. A yid is one with God. So before the Eibishter created the world, what happened? B'mi nimlach, and who did the Eibishter consult to create or not create? B'nishmaseim shel tzadikim. That there's no neshamas there, nothing exists. So Chassidus explains, what does it mean the Eibishter is nimlach with tzadikim? That means the way all of our neshamas are one with him, over there he consults to create or not create, which means we feel, he feels, as we are one with him, the pleasure of having a dira b'tachtonim. That's where everything begins, and that's our essence. Then our neshamas come down into this world, and the more the neshama comes down and down and down and down and down and down, the neshama experiences itself more and more and more as an entity that's not the Eibishter. We are not God. God is God. We are we. And we are here. The Eibishter meets us. And the Eibishter says, Chevda, okay, you'll be my people. So we as non-godly beings become his people. So in Torah there are two expressions. Yidden are either Avdei Hashem, Avodim, servants, or sometimes we are called Tzivos Hashem, the army of Hashem. So what does that mean when we become Avodim? Avodim means we are not the Eibishter. The dream of having a dira b'tachtonim, we don't even know about. By Har Sinai, the Eibishter never told us the Saba Kadosh Baruch Hu liyas dira b'tachtonim. We had to wait until the Alter Rebbe wrote it in Tanya. No one ever said that to us. For thousands of years, we didn't know, because we said earlier, when the king is revealing what he wants, he reveals his rotzen. He doesn't reveal his oinen. So we don't know what it's about. We don't have to. We are servants. And servants are servants. You are you. The Eibishter is the Eibishter. You're two separate entities. You and God, and you're serving him. Now, there's two levels. If we're serving him just simply, we're really not that excited about doing it, but we realize that he's the boss. Hashem is holding a mountain over your head and forces you you have Kabbalah, then you're an Eved. You might be a total very good Eved, a very good servant. You're listening to everything, you're davening, you're learning, you're washing Negovas, you're doing your chitas, you're doing Shema, you're doing all the Inyanim, even doing Miftzayim. Everything you're doing it. Why? I have to do it because the Eibush is commanding. So that's the most external level. At least it's not a masnagid. You're not doing it to fill your boichut, whatever. You're doing it to serve God. Oh, hastich command. You have a connection. Well, a connection on Avdus. If you're from Tzivos Hashem, what's the idea of an army? An army love their king. They're not just people. These are the people who sign up, especially it's a voluntary army. People who sign up to die for the king. What does it mean? That they are people. They're still people. You are you, and the king is the king. These people love the king so much, and therefore they're willing to do anything to the king, even to die. But they are still two separate entities. They, and then there is the king. But then in Chazal there is a lashon, something deeper. Not you are a tzivos Hashem, but nasa shutif. You become a partner with God. What does it mean to become a partner? A partner means that this is not anymore something you're doing for somebody else. This is something that you're doing for yourself, but not like a masnag you're doing for yourself. You're doing for yourself because you and the Eibishter are one. And if you and the Eibishter are one, so why are you doing it? Because the Eibishter's desire of having a dira b'tachtonim is my desire, because me and God are one. Because the Yid is one with the Eibishter himself. That is Gilui of Etzam HaNeshama. That's the Gilui of Atzmos, Gilui of Etzam HaNeshama. So the Rebbe says in the Sichos after this stuff. We said earlier, the Rebbe says, I'm giving it over to you. That means you have to take responsibility to bring Moshiach. So that's what it means to take responsibility. Responsibility means, you see, if I'm making a program, Rabbi Levin is making a program, he's having Beis Taamuz Farbrengen. I don't know who works for him. By me, I have a very hard time. Like, I don't know who to call. I clean the tables, I clean the chairs, I clean the toilets. I was Suzaman. Rabbi Levin, I'm sure over here, Beis Betzalel is very organized. And he calls this person, that person. But the question over here at the very end becomes, who's responsible? Who's responsible? What happens if so-and-so, who would like to, usually does it, either he gets paid, or because he's committed, he's an important person in Beis Betzalel, who's involved in doing something. What happens if, for whatever reason, he got caught on traffic, and he's in the 405, or clocked someone, and he can't get to shul to do the other? So what does he do? If he's an ordinary worker and committed, he calls up and he says, I'm sorry, I try to make it, I can't do it. So who does the responsibility fall on? Is there someone who's responsible? I want to, I can't, I'm helpless. I can't get the work done. I'm done. I cannot do it. Okay. When does that work? When it's not your project. When it's his project. When it's someone else's project. You are committed. No matter how high you're committed. You're even committed to Mesiras Nefesh. But it's someone else's project. It's not your project. Taking responsibility means that this Indian is our Indian. Having Mashiach now in the world is diamond on Indian. It's not someone else's Indian. It's not the Rebbe's Indian. It's not the Eibishter's Indian. It's the Eibishter's Indian because you and the Eibishter are one. And that means Latakis Eitzah. What does it mean Latakis Eitzah? The Rebbe doesn't want you to come up with new ideas. The Rebbe wants you that you're going to... What do you Latakis Eitzah? When something has to happen and it's not getting done. So what do? You sit and you sit and you sit with Latakis Eitzah. How are you going to do it? So till that time, the Rebbe is someone who's Mashiach. Mashiach is this Nekudat Etzem HaNeshama. The Rebbe says that there's Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai Yechida, and in the Sichos over here in Tafshin on the Bais, the Rebbe says Mashiach, the real Gilui Mashiach is not. We always know Yechid is Mashiach. The Rebbe says no. Really, Yechida is only a name of the Neshama. Etzem HaNeshama, the Hizgalus of Mashiach in reality is the Hizgalus of the Etzem HaNeshama that is one with Atzmus Malus, which is revealed through the Etzem and the essence of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Okay, that's the essence. And therefore the Rebbe say, I'm giving you over, meaning to say, I am now opening up your Neshama, and I am now revealing in you a level that has never been revealed in the Jewish people. That Yiddishkeit, see the Alter Rebbe, what does the Alter say? The Alter Rebbe says, Reishis Avodah V'Ikra V'Shorsh. What's your beginning? How do you start your Jew? You start your Yiddishkeit, your day with Kabbalah Sarah Malchus Shemayim. There's an Eibishter, there's you, you're Mekam. The Alter Rebbe says that in order for our Avodah to be done well, you have to remember the Indian of Mesiras Nefesh. Because you have to remember your Yechidah Shebenefesh. Came the Friediger Rebbe in the Friediger Rebbe's days. Kabbalah Sarah was not going to carry the Jews through Russia. The Friediger Rebbe demanded every day you wake up with what? With your Yechidah Shebenefesh. With Mesiras Nefesh. You're going to go all the way to the end. You're ready to die for the Eibishter. So the Rebbe explains in the Atot Tetzaveh Maimer that even the Mesiras Nefesh of the Friediger Rebbe, which comes from Etzem HaNeshama, but that's not Etzem HaNeshama as it is Mushrish and Atzmus. But the Neshama, as it is Mushrish and Atzmus Mamish, where does that reveal itself? What does the Rebbe say in Atot Tetzaveh? When a Yid cannot sleep at night, as the Kuchetim the Kishkis. He cannot sleep, he can't do anything because there's one place in the world where there's no Gilui Elokus. There's somewhere that bothers him. He can't stand that the Rebbe. Why? The Rebbe says that Indian of being driven with madness, because it's yours, it's not someone else. That's the way your neshama is mushrish and asmus itself, and that's why the avodah of lahavi li'elois Mashiach is the deepest element of the Jewish people. And that is Mashiach reveals in the Jewish people. Because Mashiach is the Nekuda Atzmus of the Jewish people. He is the Etzem of the Jewish Neshama. And therefore he reveals in us that we should have that in you. And that's why, really, so what does the Rebbe want of us? The Rebbe wants every single one of us to become Mashiach. What does it mean? That you should revealing in the Neshama, not just that you have a Yechidah Shebenefesh, but that you are so interesting. The Rebbe said wonders. And the Rebbe says, whoa, this is the Chazal. How can you? The Rebbe says, no. You don't have to wait until you go through all. You begin your day, Moida Ami, as soon as you're waking up. The moment you wake up is Nizgala, the essence of the Yid. What's the essence of the Jew? Kvar b'tchilas avoida. In the beginning of the morning when you open up your eyes, it's already Nizgala in you, the Etzem Etzias of you, that you and God are one entity. And God's business is your business. This is Dainin on Inyan. And therefore you cannot sleep. So the Rebbe wants like this. Just like the Rebbe, who is this Inyan, cannot for 1 second The idea of Dira B'Tachtoinim is burning. Did we ever see anything like it? The idea of the Eibishter being revealed in every corner of the world and in every possible situation, in every human being, in every nook and cranny. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, no one else cared. No one. Maybe Avraham Avinu. You never had a person who this Indian was driving and pushing and his entire Metzias. That's Mashiach HaKlali. Mashiach HaPrati, your individual Jew, the individual Nakuda of every Yid, is when your Mashiach wakes up. That's what the Rebbe says. What can I do? Not that what can I do? I can do it. Maybe you guys can do it. But I can say, so you're going to come up with better, brilliant ideas than me. What are we, nuts? Is that what the Rebbe says? He's not saying that. He says, what can I do? I will do something. I will give it over to you. Meaning to say, I will give you my madness. I will open you up to your Etzem HaNeshama. And from your Etzem HaNeshama you will operate. And when your Etzem HaNeshama is revealed, which is higher than Yechidah Shevanefesh, the Rebbe in that year revealed to us the biggest things. He lifted the Jewish people up to their essence, mamish ta'afra. The Rebbe says there that that's the hachana for Mashiach. Because when Mashiach comes, the main thing of Mashiach, the Rebbe says, is, first of all, it's Gilui of Atzmus, but it's really the Gilui of what a Jew is. That's Mashiach. The main point of Mashiach is the Hisgalus of Yidden, how Yidden are chad with Atzmus and Mahusamash. I want to tell you one thing. If and when we learn, we connect, and this fire goes on in our neshama and our soul, then the Yiddish, it becomes Vayiso Yaakov Yisrael. Everything in your Yiddishkeit is alive, slept, and with chayus, and with freilichkeit. It's with power, it's with energy. If the Inyan, where the Rebbe brought us, is not something we're plugging into, because we'd rather sit around and kratz around and talk about Lubavitch as a beautiful, powerful, nice institution in the world that's doing a lot of good, and we open and we're part of this, whatever. You know what? Just like the Alter Rebbe said it in every generation, we have to meet the Shechina where the Shechina is. The Alter Rebbe said the Avodah now is no more in mainly in Limud HaTorah. The Avodah made is Nesinas HaTzedakah, because this is where it's at. Where the Nasi Adoyer is, that's where the Anakuda is. That's where the energy is. That's where the Chayos is. That's where the power is. That's where the Avodah is. If we chas v'sholem, just ignore this, because we couldn't, doesn't make any sense to us. We shut down and say, "This is what you're talking about. This is too wild and young." And therefore, I don't want to look like a lunatic. I'm sure I have to say something. It's really ridiculous, this idea. But my wife will be Muslim. The other week, my kids, Baruch Hashem, beautiful. My kids are wonderful. My wife's had a birthday. They decided they want to treat us, so they bought us a gift certificate to the Herzog Winery, to the restaurant. Baruch Hashem, I like to eat. I was very happy, especially since they bought my wife's a birthday present that I'm part of. That was gewaldig. Mamish ishteke gufay. I was very excited. So I go up to the winery, and I'm sitting down. I had our heat. First, it takes 45 minutes to figure out what you want, because you know you have a one chance over here. So I can't come to the winery every day and try everything in the menu, so this is a very serious situation. So I'm sitting and kratzing around and figuring out what I want. Then I'm always thinking, maybe I didn't order the right thing. Who knows what kind of... Okay, fine for eating. Then I got something stuck in my tooth. So it's bothering me. So I go like this. And my wife suddenly gets all sick. Can't you sit like a bench? You're in a fancy restaurant. I take you to an elegant place and you can't behave. And I'm saying, over here, I'm going to get this thing out. So I told my wife, I want to ask you something. You're telling me that everybody sitting over here are such Bali seichel, such intellectual, sophisticated people. They schlep out of here all the way from Los Angeles, spend $150 for dinner, and Stan, they made some fancy schmancy, whatever, this and this. Ooh, and these are intelligent people sitting and figuring out. This mamish a bunch of cows. Just because they're wearing neckties and this is like amtzachais and sipping wine. What is it? A bunch of behemoths. So what's the difference if I'm going like this? I have to behave in such a like this is so elegant. That's what I told her. Of course, she shut me up and made me behave. Baruch Hashem. But what I'm saying is, anyways, the fact that there are 60 restaurants on this block over here, just over here, this is normal. mention Amala, mention Nidus Chazra. We need the stupidity and this and we the pack of people walk around, they don't take their head out of that thing. And so the video again, WhatsApp, someone sent me. I should stop looking at WhatsApp, but sometimes it's good. Someone sent me this thing of this lady, she's walking, never feel bad. It's sensitive. She's walking and there was this no, not Cliff. There's a cellar open. You know, in New York, they have these basements that go, so they're covered by a thing. So the cellar's open, but it's like a metal thing opens up like this. She's walking, and she walks right in, and she makes a somersault like this, goes right into the cellar. And then you see, a few minutes later, Baruch Hashem, there were workers down there. So they quickly take her out, put her in, and feel bad for her, because, you know what I mean, everybody's an idiot, but she never ended up being the one that the WhatsApp goes out to everybody, seeing how this person tumbles up. We walk around like such Moshe Goyim. In Dafka the Indian, that the Rebbe told us that he's crazy about. And the Rebbe said to us that we need to be crazy. I spoke to the Sheikh Abad the other day. And I said, listen, since when? I always knew a Lubavitcher is always a fanatic. We've always been fanatical. We had Lubavitcher, when I grew up in Maribor, Namala people, Lubavitcher, a little cuckoo. Why Lubavitcher, a little cuckoo? What is that? What kind of cuckoo? Holy cuckoo-ness. The Alter Rebbe says, Kedushas cuckoo-ness. The Alter Rebbe says, Emunah, Skachnis to the Eibishter, is Lamayla B'tam B'das. Is the Orin, so the Eibishter is Meir and Chachma Shebenefesh. The Alter Rebbe says, Behemoy Sayisi Imach. When I'm a behemoth and I'm an animal, I am with you. But the moment I think I understand, that doesn't mean, he's the same author, the author of Chabad. What does it mean? The Rebbe says, Oyrois the Toiru became the Pico. Take these wild inyanim and then make sense of the unsensible, of things that are high in the mind of the Tamuz. Let me ask you a question. This whole Lubavitch today, minus Moshiach, is this something that there's any craziness to it? No. I think the whole world admires Lubavitch as a beautiful thing. They do all kinds of work. They go out across the whole world. There's nothing crazy anymore in Lubavitch. More than that, in the Rebbe's Sichos, the Rebbe spoke about the last Nisoyan. The Rebbe was talking about when he gave us an Atat Tzavamai, and the Rebbe spoke so strongly about Loyas Bayish, the Nisoyan, the last generation, is not to be embarrassed from the people who laugh at you. Who laughs at Lubavitch? No one laughs at you anymore. Lubavitch became totally normal. The Rebbe always kept us crazy. Whenever people became kind of comfortable with something the Rebbe did, the Rebbe started a new Meshigas. It's like when the Rebbe started with Shef and Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Come on. When in the early days of Barba, I know from my grandma, Lubavitchers were crazy because they're making Balachiva. My grandmother used to say, Balachiva! You know, there was such a disconnect from Yidnafon, was such a thing. Okay, so finally the world got comfortable with Lubavitcher Balachiva. And then the Rebbe came along and started saying, I don't know, now go to Goyim. Whoever, and then Mashiach, and we want Mashiach now? You know what kind of joke that was in the whole world? Putting tefillin on the street. The Rebbe always kept us at the point of Elokus. Getlichkeit is when you transcend yourself. And that very transcendence, you bring it down. But now, kind of we reach this thing, we sophisticated everything, and I have to say something. I hope I don't get myself by saying this. I go to the Kiddush HaShluchim every year. I go to the Kiddush HaShluchim every year, and I'm there. And it's inspiring, and it's true, 5,000, 6,000 shluchim, and we dance, this and that. I don't feel, even in the dancing, by the way, I don't feel the etzem on the shama erupting. I feel like, in the tension, yeah, and it's already, it's already becoming a shtickle halfway misnagish a dance. I don't feel that. That's totally. Boy. I feel them at that we're adding in Yom Mashiach like it's something that is added. We should also do in the Yom Mashiach. Almost like we took this whole Indian and put it on the back burner. It's not there anymore as our drive, as our force, as our power, as our Indian. Now here's the Indian. Obviously, as I showed you earlier, the Rebbe is doing his thing, and Mashiach is happening. But something the Rebbe says, Chevra, we have to do it, each and every one of you are partners. You have to be. So, the Poyel Mamish, I would say, the Achlata for me, is to learn in Yonah Yulu Mashiach, because that's where the Rebbe turns on Yeshua. And I don't mean to then, because you have also extremes who take everything else in Lubavitch has ended. There's no this. It's like it's only this. So that there has to be a kish, connection. Everything that you're doing is enthused, is invigorated with your Mashiach energy, with your connection, and with your understanding, and you're invigorated with that fire of Mashiach, and then it fills everything else you're doing. When it becomes only one Indian, then of course it becomes an annoyance. It turns people off, it gets people disconnected. So that's also the Indian. So, but it's about time. We've had our kind of time to shlufio. But now it's time that Mashiach kumtach. We see it happening. It's banging on the door. Here's Lubavitch should start kochen sich really in pnimius. And I on my own, I made it. If you listen to my CD this week, I have brought them over here. It's a whole different shit. And then I just explained the Indian of what does it mean, Melech, and why. So for the people to speak. And my father even listened. My father said, "Wow, my father's been learning Chassidus." I said, I never believed that that's what Mashiach is. Explained that this is the Eibush that has to be a Melech HaKol Haaretz, and Mashiach captures the Eibush's Malchus, and it's a whole different. See, my father calls me up. He says, "You're very excited this week." I said, "Yeah, it's coming from a different place." But so my achlata is to teach. Hopefully, I want to start a series. Even though I've been teaching in Yom Tov Mashiach, but I didn't focus so much on funneling all these sichos and all the mamarim, trying to explain them, get a terasei shel Mashiach as it's coming from the source, from the Rebbe. And again, this sefer was an eye opener. I would recommend everyone to take it. It's called the Yom Mashiach. So I wasn't here when I spoke to the ladies. I was invigorated that everybody should get the sefer. So the next day I went into Gauss and I asked them. The guy didn't know this. And he said other people came in to ask for it. I said, yeah, because they were by my speeches. He said, ladies came in. I said, yeah. So then I went, in 770, I saw there was like 30 of them. So then I went to Mishulovin's store, and he said, so I'm going to hopefully ask, from Eretz Yisrael, I'm going to send the person an email, because it's piece by piece. I didn't do justice to this delivery right now, because I myself haven't yet fully processed the Indian. But it's so learnable, it's so digestible, it's so invigorating. It gives you such a chayus, pnimius chayus. And we can take a live, be emes chassid, be attached, leben mit Mashiach every second. It's clear from the Rebbe that someone sent a letter to the Rebbe about, right after the Sikh of Chavches Nisan, someone sent a letter to the Rebbe saying that he has a child who every day runs up on the roof to see if Mashiach is coming. So the Rebbe said, the Rebbe said, das habe ich gemeint, this is what I mean, the Sichasi hayadua, which means the Rebbe saw this Sikha as a pivotal change in the entire Indian. Because you look at the Sikhas afterwards, the Rebbe is so speaking about, in other words, what the Alter Rebbe touched on, and what all Chassidus didn't reveal. You see, I'll give an example. In the Alter Rebbe's Maimarim, you hardly have anything speaking about Atzmos. You have Urin Soif, the most. Soif Kalal. The Alter Rebbe talks about Soif Kalal. It doesn't talk about Atzmos. The Rebbe Rashab talks about Atzmos, but not about Atzmos. Atzmos, Urin Soif. Look at all the Rebbe Rashab. He's talking about Atzmos, he's talking about Atzmos, Urin Soif. And when you're talking about deeper parts of the Neshama, the highest the Rabbi spoke about is Yechidah. The Rebbe is talking about Atzmos and Mohus Mamish. And the Rebbe is saying, and he says in every year there's been this Gala, Atzmos and Mohus Mamish, that you and the Eibush are totally one, and therefore you have Koiches believable. And you have resources believable. And you're really, it's a whole different Indian. If the Rebbe opened us up to this emes and this depth and this real Metzias Amiti from all of us, we have to live in that Metzias Amiti. And all you do is learning those things bring you there, because he's a Rebbe. So he's the one who puts us in that place. So Hashem, hopefully there'll be a chizuk and a nesayis for people to learn whether through that or not. We'll figure it out. Latakas Eitzah, let's make Latakas Eitzah right now. Latakas Eitzah to seriously take the Rebbe very seriously. And realize that we have to jump on the wagon, and we should embarrass. We should what? I was thinking to do. I had an idea. What? Yeah. No, but what I thought that I had in all of this was that it would be a good, it's what I want to do as well, is to start an online school, a Google Classroom, which is going to be a school for Teras Yishon Mashiach, which means an academy for the future. In other words, there should be a classroom and I can find experts from different places in the world, which will teach for Goyim, Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, and this is future teaching. And then someone is going to teach the Inyanim of the Beis Hamikdash, Mamish as the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. There'll be different classrooms and different Inyanim, and we will learn and educate the world with the higher knowledge of Mashiach as an official school, that it's a global school, and anybody across the world can come into that school and learn and study, and we can connect different people who are experts in various different Inyanim to teach it, and my Kashturim, literally, and bring, because if it's Torah Chadasha and E.T. takes it, let's teach that Torah Chadasha as much as we know it and as much as we're capable of it. And the more you learn it, you see there's infinite, the Rebbe gave us everything. And you just discover more and more and more light coming out of it. I looked over this Sikha so many times, I didn't see all of this. And suddenly there was such like, whoa, there's something. And I didn't even give tonight a drop of the drop of the drop of the bucket of what's there. So l'chaim, learn, we should be invigorated, and we should fear us to come on. L'chaim.
Hey.